My name is Vikram Bobde. I am a volunteer of Marathi Mandal Sacramento, and this event has been organized by Marathi Mandal Sacramento. So I welcome you all to this very interesting event. Before we get started, this facility was made available to us by Chinmaya Mission Sacramento. So I would like to call Balaji Uncle on stage to just say a few words about Chinmaya Mission, and then we'll get started.
Thank you. Welcome home. Right. How many of you have come to this facility before? Oh, few, many of you. How many of you know of Chinmaya Mission? My job is over.
Now you should ask questions.
Right? So like, when we say welcome home, right, much like our home, there are some do's and don'ts that we have in this facility as well. One of them is like, we try to keep this aisleway clear because it's like an emergency exit to get outside, right? So let's just keep this corridor a little bit clear. And also, we have restrooms. You folks have been here before, so if you forgot, if anybody's new, the restrooms are right there. When you go through this door in the back, to the right side, there is the men and women restrooms are there. And just a little bit, even if you know about Chinmaya Mission, right? What we do is we meet on Sundays. We have classes called Bal Vihar, right? And the classes start for pre-kindergarten age kids all the way to the 12th grade. And it is so, happy. I'm so happy to see the kind of things that are happening in this facility, which is exactly what this facility is meant for. And the kids do study Mahabharata and Ramayana as part of their curriculum. In addition to that, they learn to chant slokas, and we have Bhagavad Gita chanting classes. And while these classes are going on, we also have study groups for adults right here in this facility. So the kids could be dropped off in the classes and the adults could attend the spiritual study groups, right? And in addition to that, also, we have evening study groups in multiple locations, both in person as well as online as well, right? So we study different spiritual books, which were mostly like commentaries were written by Puja Gurudev, Swami Chinmayananda. We study books from like Bhaja Govindam. We study Atma Bodha. We do a book that he had written called Kindle Life or Self-Unfoldment. All the way, and we also do some Upanishad, Upadesha Sara, that type of books, all the way leading to Bhagavad Gita. So if any of you are interested, of course, Parag is here as our ambassador, and please do inquire with him. And we would love to see all the faces, come to Bal Vihar and attend functions in Chinmaya Mission. And also, I told Parag that, my God, this was like a hidden secret, which I'm glad it was a secret because we're already full here, right? Because many of the Chinmaya Mission members did not, know about this event that is happening in there. But next time, we're going to jam-pack this hall like when you have this type of event. So thank you, welcome again, and hope to see you more and more, functions like this happening in this facility, add to the spiritual rigor of this establishment here. With that, right, if there's any help you need, let us know. We will make this as pleasant and productive as possible today. Thank you.
Thank you, Balaji Uncle, and thank you, Chinmaya Mission, for your support. Without your support, this program would not have been possible. So with that, let's get started. I would like to call MMSAC EC member Swapnil, who is here. He made some personal sacrifices today to show up here. And as Balaji Uncle said, right, some people didn't know about this event because this happened at a very short notice. Smita and Madhav from Bay Area, they approached me and we huddled together and quickly put together this program. So unfortunately we didn't get a lot of time to advertise this, but we tried our best. But next time we'll make it a bigger function. So without further ado, I would like to call Mrs. Nisha Pandey, who has done extensive study of Nileshji's work. She has read all his books. She has watched each and every video of Nileshji, and she is the best person to introduce Nileshji to the audience today. So I would like to ask Nisha ji to introduce Nileshji.
Namaskaram everyone. We are gathered up here to welcome a very special guest and listen to his talk. Before that, a quick anecdote, and I'm sure many of you will correlate with it. Growing up in families where grandparents infused us with stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata and having a dharmic atmosphere in our house, we set our foot in education system to find that what we have learned is all fable and myth. The binaries become part of our lives. At some point in life, I started thinking and analyzing different narratives, divergent informations. It was unsettling to know that my heritage is mythology. I question, why have we been celebrating birthdays of Sri Ram and Sri Krishna and celebrating events of their life and as our festivals from generations? Why such accomplished great sages have been singing praises of mythical figures? This restlessness led to my own quest in historicity of our epics, and I stumbled upon works of Sri Nileshji. Nileshji's works are proportional to the revered rishis of time. For those who think philosophy alone is not satisfactory and are looking for scientific validation, his books are must read. For those who have not read any of his books, I must say, wake up, it's time. You can critique it, you can disagree, but please read. Nileshji has degree in chemical engineering and MBA, executive MBA. He is a researcher and an author, as we all know. His interests are many, like archaeology, astronomy, geology, astroarchaeology, genetics, quantum mechanics, economics, philosophy, ancient narratives, etc. Some of his notable books are Historic Rama, When Did Mahabharata Happen, Bhagavad Gita, Comes Alive, Bhishma Nirvana. Nileshji is here because he's been invited for an ancient civilization conference organized by Gaia, and he's only one of the 11 people who've been invited to speak. We are very proud to know that he is one among us. With that immense pleasure, and it's a great honor to welcome Nileshji, but I would like to invite Vikram sir to come and present him the bouquet. Welcome, Nileshji.
Thank you, Nishari. And one last request, please turn off your cell phones. This is going to be an interesting topic, so we don't want any interruptions. Thank you.
Namaskar. Is it working? Can you hear me? Yes. No? Am I hiding the screen?
No.
We are all set.
Some of the lights.
विक्रम
Okay, good.
लाइट बिल बंद केलं तर
This is good.
काय लाईट बंद केलं
Alright.
काय दिसणार नाही दिसेल ना थोडं बहुत त्यांचं मागचं हे दिसत नाही
Okay, so let's begin with, we are in the Chinmaya place here, this institution. Of course, I knew about Chinmaya for a very long time, but my very intense association with Chinmaya Foundation, Chinmaya University is for about last 6 years, beginning 2018, when they invited me to teach a workshop, summer workshop on Mahabharata at Velianad, Those who go to Chinmaya would know the place. And then I have spoken at many Chinmaya, like say Chinmaya Chicago and many others. Not just Chinmaya hall, but Chinmaya program. Very recently, how many of you are closely associated with Chinmaya? Few, okay, sorry, I can cut the subject and get to this subject here. But if you have heard Sandipani, their center in Mumbai, so they do a 2-year-long program, okay, very intense program. The folks have to be with a degree and between 22 and 32 or something like this. Very intense program. Everyone gets up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatnot, and goes into the long hours. It's called Vedanta Certificate Program. And so Advayananda ji, those who know, he's actually leading that program. And he invited me to speak to these 40 students of the Vedanta Certificate Program, 2-year-long program. So I was there not that long ago. Okay. So with that, anyone here, and you can be very frank and honest, who before coming to this, you had not heard my name. Of course, there was a program, she said Nilesh will be speaking. I don't mean that. But before that, who has not either read my book or watched any video or read any blog article? Okay, very good. Decent number. Okay, so you have to do a lot of homework after this talk. Yeah? Okay. Quick summary, I started here, and eventually what happens is no good work goes unpunished. So there is a lot of work I have done in other areas, but that's not the focus today. What you see on the screen is a summary of 30 years of my research. Okay, in fact almost close to 40. Now why do I say for 40? Not exact 40, 87. I do have notes from 1987, like me studying Bhagavad Gita, but also Bhagavad Puran and so on. But even if we just take away 87, at least I would say 30, 35, close to 35 years of my research. And some people say 35 years of research, So I brought one witness, if I can ask Ajay Prabhu to stand for a second. He's a resident of Sacramento area, Folsom, Ajay Govinji. So afterwards, if you have any questions that I have not answered, you can ask him. Okay. We work together our friendship goes back to 35 plus years. And today we are meeting after 30 years. How's that? But of course, we always remain in touch. This is a summary. What you see is the x-axis, that's the axis of time. The today is 21st century. From that backwards, if you come 0, everyone knows what that 0 refers to. If I ask you, everyone in the audience, what is your birth year? Whatever the number you say, 2002, 1995, whatever the number you say, basically you are saying in that calendar, which is what? Gregorian calendar. Everyone understands that? Okay. So we have to use this as a reference calendar for multiple reasons. That's not a subject today. But sometimes, Indians they just get like this. But why are you using a Western calendar? Because the equivalent solar calendar in an Indian system did exist. But because of our laziness, we lost it. That is the answer. We had a solar calendar, but it no longer exists. So to talk about the Indian events, we need a reference calendar. And we need a reference solar calendar, because that's just not there, okay? Not there anymore in the Indian system. We call it a lunisolar calendar, but there is no good count. Like you might have heard Vikram Samvat and Shalivan Samvat, but they themselves have some doubts about them as to when exactly they began, and therefore we are using Gregorian calendar. Okay, Gregorian calendar as a tropical solar calendar is an absolutely phenomenal, accurate calendar. They might have a very awkward and bad history, but that's not the issue. Okay, we are all telling our birth year proudly in that calendar. So suddenly when it comes to talking of Mahabharata and Ramayana, don't just get awkward emotions, say, why are we using that? You are using it every day on your passport and a driver's license, okay? So going backwards, my research, about 300 plus astronomy descriptions from the Mahabharata text. And imagine solving like a jigsaw puzzle. How many of you work with a crossword puzzle? How many of you solve crossword puzzle? Nobody? Just raise your hand. This is going to be a very active session, guys, okay? No time for nap. Okay. So if you have done that, it's very easy to understand. Just like we look at the vertical clues and horizontal clues, and initially when you start it feels like maybe difficult, but once you get some ideas, it fills in. Okay, and I'm going to show a demonstration of it. So those 300 astronomy observations came together and points, this is all from Mahabharata text, okay, points to 5561 BC. Ditto for Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana is much smaller than Mahabharata. Surprise, surprise, when I was surprised, Valmiki Ramayana has many more astronomy descriptions than even Mahabharata, close to 600. And again, if you try to put them like solving a jigsaw puzzle, solving a crossword puzzle, they also point to 12,209 BC. And then you will see there Rigveda 22,000 BC. All I am trying to say there is Rigveda is definitely older than 21,000 years or 21,000 BC, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of easy to remember, so that this is a basic history. Before this, or before you possibly read my words, if somebody would have randomly caught hold of you, somebody non-Hindu, let's say, and said, how old is your civilization? And you say, very old. And they say, no, no, please put a number. Now, please be honest. What number you would have said if somebody gets hold of you and says, how old is Hindu civilization or Indian civilization? What would have been your answer?
500.
Thank you. This is a very honest crowd. Okay? From today, yeah. You're not going to say it. Right now, you just take it on a Shraddha because you have not analyzed my work. Not everyone has it. But just on a Shraddha, you should be able to say it's more than 25,000 years old. Actually, I'm going to show you how old it is. 25,000 is just like yesterday. That's how old it is. But forget about those millions years of Yuga and Manvantara. I'm not going to take you there today. Okay? So that's our, just a quick summary of it. About 6 years ago, the same time I taught this Mahabharata workshop at Chinmaya in Veliagarh, I also went to a conference at Oxford. They call it Coffee Table Conference, which means like just like a TED Talks. Everyone has seen TED Talks, okay? So they go for what, 18 minutes, not more than. This is 20 minutes. But after that, they actually give the whole audience 90 minutes to drill the speaker, drill the presenters. You can ask the questions in a very, whichever way you want to grill the speaker. So when that session came, I presented two papers there. One was on Surya Siddhanta, again that's not a subject today unless we get into question answer session. Another one was on the Ayurveda, the timing of Sushruta. Afterwards you can go and check timing of Sushruta. For example, Wikipedia will say 600 BCE. And in that conference I showed, we don't know exact timing of Sushruta, but definitely Sushruta is older than 6000 BC and therefore more than 8000 years ago. Okay? Wikipedia is generally fine for getting some basic latitudes, longitudes, capitals of the world and some information. But when it comes to Sanatana Hindu civilization, I don't know why, but Wikipedia becomes Wikipedia. Okay? So you have to learn yourself but also teach your children to take the information with caution. Just because it's there in online and printed doesn't mean it's correct. In fact, when it comes to Indian civilization, almost you can take it for granted that it is wrong unless proven otherwise. Okay. So after that conference, during that 90-minute break, one professor from Chicago, Indology professor, came like a very angry, unsettled, running at me, and he said, just angrily, you don't have history. Okay, I was in a good mood that day, so I said, yeah, you're right. But then I said, well, we don't have a history, we have an itihasa. Now this is not a word game, this is not just playing with semantics or something. Everyone knows what itihasa means, literally. Itihasa, okay? That means how it happened, this is how it happened. It's very important to play with Sanskrit. Huh? If you split that as a itihasa, that means this is how to laugh. Okay, so you have to be very careful. But after the conference I got to thinking and I realized that it's not only that, we are saying India has a itihasa, but I realized only India has a itihasa. Okay? And why is that? I'm going to quickly summarize this. These are the three reasons. If you want to establish or preserve a historical event and good descriptions of it as to Desha, Kala, Patra. Okay? Desha, the place where it happened. Kala, the time when it happened. And Patra is like a context, the circumstances where it happened. You need these three things. You need a language which is very capable, able, flexible, but also has low to no drift. It doesn't change much over time. In the whole world, there is one language. Very likely, it's not your mother tongue. Like my mother tongue is Marathi, but if I have to read something written in Marathi 400 years ago or 800 years ago, I need a translation of it in Marathi. Yeah? It's written in Marathi like Jnaneshwari and Dasabodh, but I need a translation of it in Marathi to understand what is written in Marathi, because it has a shift and a drift. Okay? Shakespeare in English, we don't understand it anymore. It's not such fun to read it. Okay, but not that long ago. But Sanskrit, and we'll do the demonstration here, actually something that is written, you have the timing there, 14,000 years ago, composed, Vyasadeva, 7,500 years ago, Valmiki 14,000 years ago, they are contemporary. Valmiki is a contemporary to Ramayana. Vyasadeva is a contemporary of a Mahabharata. Okay, they are literally of that time and they're saying it. And we, with any mother tongue, as long as you have some Indian mother tongue, any non-Indians in the crowd? No? Okay, we have an extremely diverse crowd. Okay? Okay, so we will able to do it, and I'll show you some demonstration of it. The next thing we need, because we are talking of time, these ordinary calendars don't work. Because over a long period of time, people may forget, like Vikram Samvat. Who was Vikram? There were many Vikrams, by the way. Shalivan is also a dynasty. There were many Shalivan kings. So when exactly it began? Even for an individual king, did it begin with his birth, when he came to the throne, when he died? We just don't know that. There's a lot of things. Sages knew this. They used astronomy in a very ingenious, beautiful way. Astronomy is time. And the third thing, whether you compose it, you write it down, doesn't matter. You have to bring it to our times. 14,000 years ago, 7,000 years ago, right to our times. How do we do that? I have written the word wisdom tradition. What do you think is a translation of in the Indian context? Anyone? Guru Shishya Parampara. Okay? Like now we don't see that often. There are still traditions, but the Shishya is so dedicated to preserving what Guru has given and taking it to the next level. Mahabharata, everyone knows, so I can go fast through this. This is how big it is. How many of you have read Mahabharata or portions of Mahabharata? Okay. Okay. How many of you have not read Mahabharata? Okay. Those who did not read, you have to clap for those who read. Please go ahead and do that. Okay. Same thing for Valmiki Ramayana. How many read Valmiki Ramayana? Few. Okay. How many did not read Valmiki Ramayana? Okay. It's time to clap. Geographically, this is the area. Now, this may be a surprise to some of you. During the Mahabharata war, which also means the India's influence. Okay, and just I'm focusing on the Mahabharata. The area that I have dotted line, covered with as a curve or as a circle there, elliptic. That's the area where the warriors came from to fight in the Mahabharata war. Everyone follows? So think of as west as like a Syria, Turkey, as east as say Indonesia, Philippines. Okay? And we'll not worry much about the south and the north. Just keep that in mind. Can you remember this for next 25 minutes? We need this information, okay? Very important. If you look at Ramayana, okay. Ramayana actually knew a lot of geography, but that vertical area, so Mahabharata is like east-west. Think of Ramayana as a north-south, okay, the way it happened. Alright, now some complex words for your benefit. And how many from academia here? Indology, linguistics? Nobody? Okay, I can bluff. No, he's saying maybe I am, No, we just talked before. So some complex words, they don't mean anything complex. So method, we are going to talk about the method. We are going to talk about what is epistemology and ontology. I mean, I have written these words just to impress you guys. Okay? Epistemology in a simple language simply means what are the limits of our knowledge. At some point we say, well, but how did we do that, or how did they do that? And a time may come because evidence is not there, or it's not sufficient, or whatever the reason, or simply we may say, hey, I don't know, and we cannot figure it out. That's kind of the limits of knowledge in a simple language. What is ontology? Whatever knowledge we have, how do we know that that is true? I mean, simple question like, okay, I have a Mahabharata at my home. How do I know that that actually happened? Okay? How do I know that the Ramayana actually happened? Now you think, oh, is that a question only about Ram and Krishna and Mahabharata? Not so. Even Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, And you say, come on Nilesh, give me a break, but actually that is true. I mean, you can use this in a very thorough approach and say, how do you actually know that Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was around? By the way, I'm not trying to say that he was not around. That's not my point. Okay? But if you take, for example, so what is your answer? How do you know? How do you distinguish? So it's take Krishna versus any other character of your choice which occurred in the past. And just for simplicity, let's say occurred more than 1,000 years ago. In fact, let's do this. Give me some names that some historical personalities that occurred more than 1,000 years ago. Somewhere from this side. Suggest one. More than 1,000 years ago.
Ramanuja.
Ramanuja. Everyone has heard the name Ramanujacharya? Excellent. Somewhere from here area.
Patanjali.
Bhagwan Patanjali, okay? The Yoga Sutra, the writer of Yoga Sutra. Here?
Plato.
Plato, very good.
Shankaracharya.
Shankaracharya, okay? Jesus, Alexander, and you can go on and on. And just a quick point I will say is, if I put all of these other names, all the names we said, right from Ramanujacharya to Shankaracharya to Alexander to Plato, on this side, and I put Krishna or Ram, it doesn't really matter, and I ask you, how, if somebody has asked you, hey, I'm not sure, or please tell me, how will you prove or how will you convince me that these two individuals, I mean one individual here and multiple individuals here, they actually existed? How would you go about doing it? Anyone?
Literary references.
Literary references, very good, thank you. Anything else?
Archaeology.
Huh?
Archaeological.
Archaeological references, thank you. Astronomy, yeah, we're going to talk about that. Okay, astronomy. Anything else? By the way, astronomy is also archaeology. Okay, that is also lost on many people, but especially on archaeologists. Archaeologists don't understand that astronomy is archaeology. Okay, any other besides literary, archaeology, astronomy?
What about Shruti then?
What about Shruti? Which is what? Literary. Okay, Shruti is there, but Rigveda is now in the written form, so something is written, right?
Transmitting the knowledge to next generation orally.
Very good, okay, very excellent, which is a Shabda Pramanya, somewhat close to literary, whether it is written or whether it is spoken, kind of information transmitted, correct?
Some corroborative proofs.
Monuments.
Monuments, very good. Okay, so now when you say monument, just the building or maybe even the inscription written on it. Okay, suppose, I'll come to you. Suppose if you say inscription, it's very important you understand, inscription is not any different than say a verbal testimony or a literary one. How is it different? Whether it's written on a paper, whether somebody remembers it, or whether it is written in a stone or copper plate. You understand?
Yes.
People tend to think like, oh, but there is an inscription. What do you mean? It means the person who created the inscription, whatever he or she was thinking was simply written there. You follow? Okay. So we talked about this. Let's go next one. So let's understand the method. Now yesterday, I forgot where I was speaking, maybe day before yesterday. By the way, there are some individuals here who have come to, just in the last 4 days, they have come to my third lecture. So I have to ensure I say something different, yeah, and a new, and I'm going to do that, okay. So, day before yesterday, I was doing a program in Fremont, and somebody asked, but why are we bothering to convince the Western audience using science? It's our stuff, we believe it. Why bother? You have any ideas? And I will tell you my answer. I said, I'm not trying to convince the Western folks. In fact, I'm not even interested in convincing the Eastern or the Indian folks. Because you cannot convince someone. All I can do is put my position. Okay? Whether you get convinced or not, it really depends on your intellectual ability, your Vijnana Buddhi, your knowledge of Tarka Shastra, your knowledge of Tantra Yukti. Just to show you, I'm going to take this that I did use 3 days ago, just to give an example. How I will give the same information, but your interpretation varies. And then if somebody is from academia, the interpretation nonsense goes on. No. The interpretation vary because we are made up of Sattva, Raja, Tama and a combinations of that. Okay? A person may have a lot of buddhi, but if it is tamasic, do you know what happens to him or her? That person takes everything and understands it 180 degree opposite from what it is. That's what Bhagavad Krishna says. Adharmyam dharmyam iti ya manyate tamasa vruta sarvarthan viparitamsha buddhi sa partha tamasi. 18.32 Bhagavad Gita. You can start reading Bhagavad Gita backwards and that's perfectly works. Okay? So this is important. So I'm going to do example. Suppose, just let's see, if I take a coin, like a quarter coin, and if I toss it 100 times, you understand this experiment? Tossing it 100 times, head or tail. And I get a score, I'm going to share that with you. Okay, it was nicely tossed 100 times. And the score came out 60, 40. 60 heads, 40 tails. How many of you think that possibly, because ideally we would say on a mathematical, on the paper, the probability should be 50-50, but in reality that never happens, you know that too, right? So if I say the answer is 60-40, how many of you think there is a problem with the coin? Raise your hand. Okay, one. Okay, fine. What if the answer was 70-30? Now you don't have to raise the hand anymore, you're gone. Okay? Okay. Yeah, so one more person, or two more heretics. Anyone wants to join? Three, thank you. So, yeah, three more people. Yeah, please raise your hand, okay, if you think so. So now, three additional people think, now I think that maybe there is a problem with the coin. What if the outcome was 80-20? Few more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. What about the outcome was 90-10? Few more, very good. What if the outcome was 99-1? Few more. I like your saying that. Nilesh, keep going. Okay. What if the outcome is 100-0? And how many of you think there is a possibility, maybe there is a problem with the coin? Okay. Now some of you who did not raise, they also understand statistics. They say, hey, in principle it's possible that you may do it and it will happen. Right? All I wanted to demonstrate was, I gave you different scores, same audience, different people decided to jump ship at a different times. Do you understand? So the onus is on you to understand. My goal is to just present. But the scientific method we have is this. If you have a problem to solve this, you propose a theory. Okay? That's called tentative theory. Ramayana. We don't know if it's true, but we propose. Maybe this is the solution. Then once we propose a solution, based on that we can find out predictions. Okay? So if this theory is true, this should happen. Then you actually look at the experiment, you look at the actual evidence and see if whatever is we are predicting is the evidence experiment showing me this. You follow? If we are successful, that's an error elimination, and we say, bingo, my theory appears to be correct. We are not 100% sure. And then we have more problems. So that's what we are going to do. Now the answer to that question, the lady who asked me, it says, why are you using science? Something like this. But even there, how many of you have watched the Matrix movie? We are all in the Matrix. Even when we say, why are we using science to prove this? There is a subtle thing that nobody says, because we think science is Western. How many of you understand that? That's why the problem. Actually, science is not Western. There is a tremendous progress that happened in the West, Western science in the last 500 years. They call it European Renaissance. But actually, what I am showing you here, this is Sir Karl Popper, he's Austrian philosopher, he used to teach at London School of Economics, he also taught at Berkeley, some of you who may know that. So he says, what is a logic of scientific method? It's a triangulation of explanation, prediction, testing, the triangle, in the context of a theory, in the context of background knowledge. But before Popper said this about like 60 years ago, thousands and thousands of years ago, Bhagwan Patanjali said, Pratyaksha Anumana Agama Pramanani. Done. This is how you get the correct knowledge, the ontology. How do you know something is true? He also said, how do you know that something is false? The next sutra. Anyone is studying Patanjali Yoga Sutra? Very good, thank you. Do you remember? I'm not going to test you. Samadhi path number 8. Viparyayo mithya jnanam atadrupa pratishtam. What I just showed you is number 7. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Agama. These three together gives you the truth. Viparyayo mithya jnanam atadrupa pratishtam. If you don't follow this method, whatever you get will definitely be mithya. That's why I don't use the word mythology for Mahabharata and Ramayana. Okay? There is one more. Shabda, next one. 7, 8, 9. Shabda jnananupati vastu shunyo vikalpa. You are just speculating something and it's perfectly okay to speculate, but it's important you say it, I am speculating. But you speculate something, Shabda jnananupati, Shabda jnana. Vastu shunyo, but there is no evidence to back it up. you lead to confusion, vikalpa, you lead to confusion, you lead to delusion. Okay, and we have many folks basically doing that. So we are going to use this method not because it's a Western method. In fact, we should not have a problem. It's a Western. Like we are sitting on the west coast of USA. Okay, all you working for this, that should not be a problem. Okay. Quickly, Mahabharata. So what kind of evidence we are looking for? I said, how do you go about proving it? Literary evidence, archaeology evidence, astronomy evidence. By the way, do you know that all the people I put it here, right from Plato to Ramanujacharya to Shankaracharya and whatnot, and just a Krishna or a Rama, there is zero archaeology evidence for any of these individuals. Zero. There is a literary evidence, there is a traditional, Guru Shishya Parampara evidence, but if you are looking for archaeology, physical evidence on the ground, that will allow you to decisively say that this person existed, the news to you is zero. In comparison to that, if you take Rama or Krishna, at least using that triangular method, there is an immense amount of evidence. You just name a field of science, very likely there is evidence to prove it. But what we have been told, what we have been brainwashed for at least 300 plus years is exactly opposite. So another message if you want to take, besides saying, not saying 5,000 years of civilization, but at least more than 25,000, do not use the word mythology. Okay? Can you raise your hand and say, I do? Okay. Don't use the word mythology. Let's get into it. So now the type of evidence we are going to check here, this is what science loves. A type of, a theory in science is predicting something and we think it's impossible with our current knowledge. I don't think this is possible. But then actually you do the experiment and it becomes possible and we say, so whatever the theory it is, it must be true. That's how actually Copernicus model over Ptolemy, Kepler over Copernicus, Newton's over Kepler, Einstein's better than Newton. That's happened just using this method. So we are looking for some evidence which otherwise seems impossible, but final investigation makes it possible. So we are going to look at Mahabharata. How many of you have listened to me just blabbering again and again? Arundhati Vasishta, raise your hand. Okay, just few. So I have to say this again. Okay. So when I started, and that's when Ajay was saying, he was a witness when I was pulling this in the University of Alberta library, the Bhishma Parva and opening it. And he was reading what? Bhagavad Puran? Okay? His favorite, I just went there. And so that just a day before the Mahabharata war and the description in the Bhishma Parva and many description, astronomy description, these are the conditions in the sky at the time of Mahabharata war. So what is my theory? Theory is all astronomy descriptions of a Mahabharata text are astronomy descriptions of Mahabharata times. That is my theory. Okay? Now, how do I pull the evidence? I start reading Mahabharata. Anytime there is astronomy, I pull it out. Anytime there is astronomy, I pull it out. That's called Vijnana Buddhi, extraction, Pruthakkaran. Then I classify, Vargikaran. Then I decide the sequence, Anukram. Just like when you are cooking, if you want to do the French fries, you don't first fry the potatoes and then start cutting. Right? There is a sequence, method to madness. It's like that. You extract them, you classify them, you put them in a sequence. You decide which one you are going to test it together, just like cooking. Some things you mix together and then put it. Right? It's the same common sense when it comes to Vijnana Buddhi. So based on that, we have to do this. So this observation, it was fascinating to me because it's impossible today. Vyasadeva is telling the blind king Dhritarashtra that, my dear king, think again. See if you can stop the war. Because I see some interesting things. One of the things I will tell you is that the star Arundhati, everyone knows Saptarshi, the 4 stars and then the 3 stars. Okay, so the rectangle and then you have a tail. In the tail there are 3 stars, the middle star is Vasishta, next to that is a small star, that is a Arundhati, that's in the sky. Okay, and if you go tonight and look it into the sky, you may need a binocular, but you have a wonderful observatory here. Go there. How many of you have been to the observatory? Okay. Now you have enough reason to go there and see who is going ahead. It is Vasishta or Misa in a modern astronomy. That's going ahead and Arundhati or Alcor is following behind. And Vyasa is saying exactly opposite. Now that's fascinating because the stars are not changing their position so fast. Okay, so this was what, 1994 and my master's thesis was ready and I was going to defend it and I had a couple of weeks, like 15 days. I said I'm going to figure this out. I did figure it out, but the timing was wrong. Instead of 15 days, it took me 15 years. Instead of 1994 to 2009. But when I finally figured it out, it was my wife's birthday, 8 May 2009, Friday, in Atlanta. And so what it did do, I'm not going to bore you with the astronomy complexities. This was the answer. This is so beautiful. Actually, using astronomy, I found a time that there is a time period, very big one, like 6,000 years, but that is the only time in the history of the world, you can say, or say take last few million years, doesn't matter which number you pick. Only time, only period of 6,000 years when somebody on the earth could see Arundhati walking ahead of Vasishtha, the way Vyasa told Dhritarashtra. Ya chaisha visuta rajas triloke sadhu sammata Arundhati taya pesha Vasishtha prashtata prabha. Everyone follows? We have to use the triangle. Vyasa says Arundhati is walking ahead of Vasishtha at the time of Mahabharata war. That's my evidence. Astronomically, objectively, using software, mathematics, I said, yes, there is a time after 11,091 BC, before 4508 BC, this is the time Arundhati could be seen ahead of Vasishtha. Vyasa says that is the case at the time of Mahabharata war. What can you guys say about the timing of Mahabharata war based on this? It happened somewhere in between. It did not happen after 45 BC. It did not happen before 11,091. Yes?
Yes.
That's how you guys have great scientific acumen, okay? That's what the scientific acumen is. Now, this is Sangsha is also important. You know what happened? 10 years after that, one person, Siddhartha Chabra, and that's the kind of attitude we should have. He said, yeah, Nilesh said it and many people are believing it, but I really want to check if whatever he's saying is true. So about 10 years after, he looked at the latest astronomy data, more precise data, and tried to redo these calculations. And what he ended up is saying, well, Nilesh, you are directionally right, but that's not the interval. Actually, the interval is much narrower. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Good thing. Because only Mahabharata can happen within this. You follow? Okay. Then the rest of the presentation is going to be very easy. Okay, I'm going to go fast through this. Okay, so that's from Arundhati Vasishtha. Now, everyone knows about Bhishma, and everyone here has heard the name Bhishma, Pitamaha.
Yes.
Yeah. So, the war lasted for 18 days. Bhishma was the general, from the Kaurava side for the first 10 days. On the 10th day, he fell down. And he had some magical thing, right? He didn't want to pass away with his body right away. He was waiting on a Sharashaya until the day of winter solstice, Uttarayan. Okay? We are not looking at 21st December, we are not looking at 14 January. It was the Uttarayan of that time, equivalent to 21st December, okay? Not the 14 January. I mean, kite playing is okay, but for astronomy it's a 21st December equivalent, okay? So, that information if we use, and I'm not going to again go into technical, so you can read any of my 3 books, or you can watch my videos. I mean, I have 1,000+ videos on this. Who has not watched my videos? Okay. Ask the others who have watched them. They work very well. Okay? They give you good night's sleep, or actually they give you a lot of knowledge by the time. Some people do binge watching. Actually they send me emails. Like I started watching at night, evening 7 o'clock, and now it is 4:30 in the AM in the morning, and I'm still watching it, and no plan to stop. Very addictive, by the way. Okay. All right. So if you use that Bhishma Nirvana evidence, just like Arundhati Vasishtha gave interval, this also does that. If you use additional evidence, this is all from Mahabharata. Okay. You are going to get these different intervals. The point I'm saying is, the internal evidence is sufficient to actually reduce, this is all good stuff, and reduce it down to like 1600 years. Mahabharata war happened right in those 1600 years, no ifs, no buts. That's how powerful, how precise the evidence is. So far so good? Now the question, how did I figure out that 5561 BCE? Okay, we'll do that on the next one. I need all the folks who do the word, the word crossword puzzle and jigsaw puzzle. That's what it is. I'll give you a simple example. Everyone uses Panchanga. Everyone is familiar with the Panchanga. Do you know how the Panchanga is made? The motion of the sun, the motion of the moon, and nakshatras. Done. That creates Panchanga. Now, pay attention. That allows you to decide when to do puja and so on. If you take that, so that's everything included, plus if you add the positions of the planets, Graha, okay, all the 5 planets, Surya, Chandra, Rahu, Ketu, and Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. If you add those, you get the time stamp for Itihasa. That's what both Vyasa has used it and Valmiki has used it. Okay, the Panchanga information plus the planetary information, that gives you a Itihasa stamp in the local time. Everyone is familiar at least with the nakshatra as a word, 27 nakshatra. How many of you know there are 27 or 28 nakshatra? Okay, anyone here with the name Chitra in the crowd? Huh? Nobody. Vishakha, Swati, Jeshta, Anuradha. You know, no? Somebody Anuradha at home? Okay. Okay. So I mean these are the nakshatra names, right? So these what you see in the circle 1 through 28, those are nakshatra names. And then there are these planets, and I'm saying lots of complicated things. We are going to just take few to just show a demonstration how that works. For example, there are about 50 descriptions of planets. We are solving a crossword puzzle. Everyone with me? Okay. There are 50 descriptions, but it so happens if you just take the Mars like Mangal or Angarak as a planet, Mahabharata has 8 descriptions about Mars, and only these 8 descriptions are sufficient. So what I'm saying is just forget for a minute Arundhati Vasishtha, forget for a minute the Bhishma Nirvana evidence. You don't even start there. You just take the 8 descriptions of Mars that are given in the Mahabharata text, and you start solving the puzzle. It's even just those 8 will take you to 5561 BC. You follow? How powerful the evidence is. Just to show you some demonstration, you say, okay, how does the evidence, astronomy evidence looks like? How many of you read Bhagavad Gita? It is going to sound just like that, because it's in the Mahabharata, given in Anushtup Chanda. If you suppose we start with, let's say, Mars again. Maghaswangarako vakra shravane cha brahaspati. Maghaswangarako vakra shravane cha brahaspati. So, near Nakshatra Magha, Angarak meaning Mars went oblique crossing, and near Nakshatra Shravan, Jupiter went oblique crossing. Okay, so they're together going this. How many of you are familiar with the retrograde motions of planets? So usually it's always going in the forward direction, okay, west to east. But sometimes, occasionally, and we're not going to technicality, you can do the Google and Wikipedia afterwards. They, as if like they slow down, they stop, they turn backward, and they go forward. It's an apparent motion, as seen from the Earth. How is the retrograde motion of Mars is described in Mahabharata? It says Dhruvam. Dhruvam in this case doesn't mean Dhruva Tara, it means fixed. Dhruvam is something that doesn't move. Dhruvam prajvalitam ghoram apasavya pravartate. So this planet, I'll tell you which one, Mars, became fixed in one place, became scary bright, turned backward, apasavya, non-normal motion, and started moving in a apasavya direction, where Chitra Swatantare Chaiva Dishtita Parusha Graha, between Nakshatra, Chitra and Swati. Then what happened? Vakranu Vakram Kruttom Cha Shravane Pavaka Prava. After that was done, it came near Nakshatra Shravan. Brahma Rashi Samavrutta Lohitango Vyavastita, and came along Nakshatra Brahma Rashi, also known as Abhijit Vega, and aligned itself against it by the first day of the Mahabharata war. This is another Vakra. Krutva Changarako Vakra Jeshtaya Madhusudana Anuradha Prarthayate Maitram Saushay Mandiva. When you're saying, where is this going? Everyone knows Sanskrit, right? Actually, you can do this. I will just say, for example, Dhruvam, fix. Prajvalitam. Everyone understand Prajvalitam?
Yes.
Ghoram,
Yes.
scary. Apasavya, some of you may not know that, and I understand. I also did not know. Do you know what I did? I went to Sanskrit English dictionary. You can do that. Apasavya, non-normal, abnormal, okay? Apasavya, pravartate, going forward, action, pravartate. Chitra Swatantare, Chitra Swatya Antare, between the Chitra and Swati. Chitra Swatantare Chaiva, Dishtita, fixed in one place. Parushagra, a bad planet, this bad planet. It's not that difficult, okay, to do this. I can go on and on. The Mars, the last day, 18 days of the war. Conjunction, if you have heard of a Yuti, like multiple planets coming together, say Moon and Venus coming together, like say tonight if you go there is a Yuti of those. English word is a conjunction. On the last day it says, Bhrugu Suno Dhara Putro Shashi Jena Samanvito Charamam Pandu Putranam Purastat Sarva Bhugujam. Bhrugu Suno. Some fun I'm going to tell you with the language also. Bhrugu Suno. Son of a Bhrugu. In English we say son. Sanskrit says Sunu. Now who came from who? Take that as a homework. Okay? Bhrugu Sunu. Dhara Putra. We talk the paternity, paternal. That is that Putra. Okay? The son of Dhara, which is Mars. Bhrugu Suno, son of Bhrugu, is Venus. Dhara Putro. Shashi Jena. See how beautiful? Any molecular biologist in the crowd? Nobody. I can blub about anything in sense. Bhrugu's Shashi Jena. Shashi is moon. Jena is again Putra. You know, genetics. Think of that. Shashi Jena. Again, Putra, Soma Putra or Shashi Putra, who is of Mercury. These three were seen together. Okay, I think I'm ready to put you guys in the nap. Okay, the point I just wanted to give you is that's how the astronomy evidence looks like. If you start putting together, hey, I need these three together. On the first day, I need this particular planet near Brahma Rashi. I want that same Mars to do the retrograde motion near Chitraswati. You follow what I'm saying? It has to obliquely cross near Maga. It also has to obliquely cross again near Jeshta Anuradha. Why? Krutva Changarako Vakra Jeshtaya Madhusudana Anuradha Prarthayate. On and on. So this is how we are solving this puzzle. And actually the answer comes is that 5561 BC. Okay, and you have to read of course my book if you are more interested. Watch my thousands of videos. Okay, or just be lazy and take it on a Shraddha. Okay. Alright. Now, if you have understood, directionally, if you have understood what I said, Ramayana is easy. Very, very similar to this. Ramayana has a 600 observations. Out of the 600, if you take only 6, immediately it brings you down to 4,000 year time period. Okay? Ramayana describes the pole stars of Ramayana times in the north. Right now, anyone knows the name of a pole star today? North pole star. Polaris. Very good. Thank you. Or in an Indian context, we call it Dhruva Matsya. Okay, but that was not the pole star of Ramayana times. Now, maybe this is a news to some of you. Even the pole star changes. Okay, and one time I was 2016. I was participating in a conference, and I gave a talk on this pole star changes. And you know, two sannyasis who were also participating, they were so scared. Afterwards, I have a photograph of talking to them for 2 hours, and they were worried. What happens to the story of baby Dhruva? What it means is, because Dhruva pole star doesn't change that fast. If the same pole star was there for about 1,000 plus years, it will also be there for additional 1,000 years. In that sense, it doesn't move. But if you go significantly longer times, actually, because Earth's axis goes like this and completes one cycle in 26,000 years. That's the beauty of Indian astronomy. Indian astronomy was the first one to figure it out. Down to the speed of this cycle. It's given in Surya Siddhanta. And this 26,000 year cycle does all the magic. That was used by Vyasa and Valmiki, and that's why we have a timestamp. So here we know the pole star. It's not Polaris. It's not Dhruva Matsya. Do you know what it is? Brahma Rashi. Abhijit, Vega. At the top, I don't know if you can read it. Brahma Rashi. This is now we switch to Ramayana by the way. Brahma Rashi Vishuddhasya Shuddhasya Paramarshaya Archishmanta Prakashante Dhruvam Sarve Pradakshana. Couple, 3-4 more points just to make this point, and I'll go fast. And we look at some non-astronomy evidence. Just like when Vega or Brahma Rashi or Abhijit becomes a pole star in the north, it so happens because of this cycle, exactly the same time Agastya or star Canopus, have you heard that? Now you are living close to the observatory, so something might have come through diffusion. Okay, Agastya becomes a pole star. Now how do we know that? How does Ramayana describe it? Today, how many of you are from New Delhi? Or that area? Okay, thank you. I said I can bluff about New Delhi too. Otherwise, no, there are few. Right now, if the skies are clear, you can see Agastya star from New Delhi in our times. Ramayana says you couldn't. Ramayana actually says if you wanted to see the star Agastya, you have to go all the way to the southern tip of India, which is like, say, think of Kanyakumari. But even you could go further south. Do you know why? Because 14,000 years ago, the sea levels were down by 120 meters. So there was more land. And then you have to climb Mount Mahindra. Top of the Mount Mahindra, then only you can see the Agasti or Canopus. You know why? Because it was also become a pole star. There is a description down here. Something else. Because of this motion, lot of things change. So the sun's position on a certain day, what is the nakshatra in the background? Lakshmana, when he's in Panchavati, and it's a Hemanta Rutu, meaning our November, December, he's telling Ram where sun is setting, on which nakshatra sun is setting. This year if you do, we don't have to go to India, you can do it here. If in November, December after sunset, note down which nakshatra is there. It will be Mula, Purvashara, Uttarashara. But Lakshman tells Rama at that time, he says, Nivrutta Akash Shayana Pushyanita Himaruna. During the Hemanta Rutu in Nasik, Panchavati, he says sun is setting on nakshatra Pushya. Again, you have to use this motion to understand how far back in this 26,000 years you have to go. The answer is you have to go about 14,000 years. Okay, that's this reference here. And you can go like this, and it will give you that. Now, this last one, so now I was stuck. I had 4,000 years, but I had to find out when exactly it happened. And then, something very ingenious came to my mind. It was a very laborious work. Like 4,000 years sounds easy, but we have to go through many each day to figure out, can I find a comet near Nakshatra Mula? So do you know what I did? Which most of you do at home. I made use of child labor. Okay, my 5-6-year-old daughter, I put her on a laptop with the software there. Fixed Mula Nakshatra because it says Moolam Mulavata Spashtam. Okay, Dhupete Dhumaketuna. A comet is near Nakshatra Mula when they started from Kishkinda towards Lanka. And I say, Arya, all you have to do, I activated all the 200 plus comets in my software and I say, keep on going. Anytime you see a comet come near Mula Nakshatra, you stop the computer, call daddy. Okay? So now you know how to do the research in astronomy. Yeah? So of course, once she did that, I verified it, that she has got it right. And that gives us the year of Ram Ravan Yuddha. Then there are some 500 plus additional references. I use them to decide the different events, okay? But now, something interesting happens. This is known as a tetradic schema of science, which is to say in a simple language, have you heard this? No good work goes unpunished, right? So now I said, okay, I think I'm done. The timing of Mahabharata, timing of Ramayana. And now I'm sure you have the questions too, but Nileshi, like why have you not done this? Or how can you do that? Can you tell me, including the questions like, can you tell me these days the question is, can you tell me the height of Ashwatthama? You know why? Yeah, the movie Kalki. I have not watched it, so I said go ask those producers. Okay? No, there is no height of Ashwatthama given in the Mahabharata. But my point is, even when some question comes, you have to ask what is the use of it. If I know the height of Ashwatthama, what am I going to do with it? Then go and figure it out. Otherwise, forget it. Our time is limited. But something happens. We start with the problem, we propose a theory, we remove the errors, we find the answer. Now you know what happens? If it is a revolutionary theory, if it's a revolutionary work that you have done, if you have done the original work, something happens. If it's not original, there was a problem, you solved it, life done, let's go enjoy ice cream. But if it's the original work, actually it leads to bigger problems of higher complexity. Okay? I'm going to give you 2 examples each, and actually that's going to be very good too. So suppose Mahabharata happened 561 BCE. Couple of, there are many, I'll show you a whole chart. But everyone knows Krishna's Dwarka was destroyed by rising sea waters sometime after the Mahabharata war. Mahabharata says Krishna's Dwarka was destroyed 36 years after the Mahabharata war. Okay? So again imagine that triangle. I started with Arundhati Vasishtha as evidence. Using software I tested it and I drew the conclusion. This time I have already the inference. The inference is Krishna's Dwarka was flooded and destroyed in 5561 BC plus 36 years. Everyone follows what I am doing? Which is 5525 BC. So I have the date when it was destroyed based on my previous work. Now I want to go and find out what evidence I find. Okay? So when I started looking for evidence, I'm going to show you. Now this is not in the sky, right? It happened on the ground. This is the evidence, and I'll tell you how much evidence is out there. This is India. Evidence is the map of India, the west coast, the Gujarat. Okay, that's where Krishna's Dwarka is. Not the one you go there today, because Krishna's Dwarka is inside the ocean, but we still need to go to the Krishna Mandir. So Krishna Mandir is built where the land is, okay? That's not Krishna's Dwarka. Actually, how many of you have been to Somnath? Okay. Based on the research, and I will not explain, from Somnath, if you sort of look into the west direction and slowly turn yourself to the southwest, and start swimming for 10 to 15 kilometers, that's where you should be looking for Krishna's Dwarka, based on all the evidence we have. But 5525 BCE, okay? What evidence we have? I don't know if people in the back can see this, but x-axis is a time. Then we start with our time, come back to 0, and then 2000 BC, 4000 BC, 5000 BC. Everyone sees that red vertical line, dotted line? That is drawn at 5525 BCE, the predicted year for Krishna's Dwarka being flooded and destroyed. Can you see a curve that's going up there? At least the people in the front should be able to see. Do you know how much is sudden sea level rise in the Arabian Sea in 5525 BC? 15 meters, 45 feet, sudden sea level rise. This is not tsunami, because keep on watching. Then the next time, after a few hundred years, it has gone additional 8 meters, net of 23 meters. Do you see one horizontal line there? You may not be able to read. MSL, mean sea level. That is the sea level today. What do you see? Actually, the sea level went 3 meters on an average above today's level. Anyone from Gujarat? Okay. Have you heard otherwise also? It's not like you guys are excused if you are not from Gujarat. You have heard Dholavira, Lothal, and what do you know about them? They used to be ports, not anymore. Do you know why? Look at that water. That additional 3 meter water that is going up, look at that, it stayed there for the next 2000 plus years. You see that? It went up and stayed there, and then what happens? 2000 BC it comes down. And go and check when Lothal and Dholavira stopped being ports, about 2000 BC. This is the data right here. I showed the data for Krishna's Dwarka getting destroyed, but also why Dholavira and Lothal were ports. Okay? Sorry. Just because of time, I am going to not go through this, but there are 30 plus data points and more. Okay? All you have to do is go to YouTube, type Nilesh and Dwarka, and you are going to get 20 videos discussing this in a detail. Okay? Around the world, 5525 BC, 5525 BC. And I'm going to show you one more for a reason. Okay, this is Ajay Prabhu. This is from University of Alberta, Paul Blanchon, Remember that building with mirrors, the glass building, the geology department. He was doing his PhD. He finished his PhD in 1995. And the data we are seeing here is from Caribbean. 7 different locations in Caribbean, like cricket guys, you may know. Barbados, okay, and Bahamas and those areas. What do you see? Last 20,000 years the water is rising, seawater is rising since the LGM, last glacial maximum. But that smooth rising is interrupted with sudden sea level rise. That's known as a CRE, catastrophic rise event. CRE1, CRE2, CRE3. In fact, they perfectly match with Ravana's Lanka getting destroyed. Atlantis, how many of you have heard Atlantis? Too many things on Atlantis. Do you know what Plato says? Plato's time is 500 BC. Okay? Plato says, whatever information he received, Atlantis was gone underwater 9,000 years before Plato's time. So that is 9,500 BC. If you add 2000 BC, that gives you 11,500 years ago. That is that Ka. You see CRE2? That is the evidence for Atlantis. We just don't know where it was, but we know that the data there is to prove that it flooded. So that's very real. Okay? And Krishna's Dwarka. 7.6 meaning what? 7,600 before present. Subtract 2000, you get 5,5600 BCE. And if you look at standard error, 5,600 BC plus minus 120. 5525 falls in between. You follow? Okay. Alright. Genetics. How many people died during the Mahabharata war? Anyone?
18 Akshayani.
18 Akshayani. Very good. Give him a big hand. Okay. Okay. Now I will also clap if you take those 18 Akshayani and tell me 18 Akshayani amounts to how many male warriors in the numbers we understand in America.
4 million.
Okay?
It was on your slide.
Okay?
It was on your slide. Not this one.
Okay. Okay, you guys are paying attention to the slide. Right, very good. Something very interesting, okay? So just imagine suddenly 4 million men are gone, okay? And I can do the calculation using the population, I will not do that. But so suddenly what happens? Those 4 million men are gone, okay? And actually we can do the population. Let's say if you imagine the population of those people who fought in the Mahabharata war, okay? That area from Syria to Indonesia, just for calculation purposes, say 10 million. That means 5 million men, 5 million women. I'm just using that as a number to make the point intuitive. 4 million are gone in 18 days. How many men are left? This is very crude calculation, guys, just for fun. 1 million. How many ladies are left? 5 million. So 5:1 ratio? Okay. So now I will show you that ratio here. So what happens is, this is a genetic earthquake. You are familiar with the earthquake, the all San Francisco area, guys, right? So anytime you hear of an earthquake, 3 things you ask. I'm giving you a clue. What are the 3 things you ask? One thing is, how serious was it? Richter scale. What is the other question? When did it happen? And what is the third question? Where did it happen? Where was the epicenter? This is a genetic earthquake. Let's ask the 3 questions. How serious was this Y chromosomes bottleneck? Okay, everyone follows? Like a couple, husband and a wife, we have 2 X's on the wife side, X and Y on the main side. The basic genetics, right? Everyone knows that. So that ratio is 3:1 if nothing is happening, right? So if you look at this baseline, so that is the big peak we are going to explain. This is my signal, 16. So what that ratio is there is the variation in the X chromosomes, NF, female, divided by variation in the male chromosomes, NM. You follow? So female variation has not gone up, but the male variation in chromosomes has shrunk because of these many people going away. You follow? So the absolute ratio is 16:1, and any electrical engineers, computer engineers, yeah, many, right? Signal to noise ratio. So remember, what is my noise? You agree? If nothing is significant happening, I divide 16 divided by 3.5, I get 5:1. Yeah? Everyone with me? And the other way to explain this, anyone from IIT? No? These guys are from IIT. So we had some, so just a couple there. So I said if couple walks in into the door, we say couple walked in. But if you are a geneticist or molecular biologist, you say 3 X's and 1 Y came in. Right? Something like this. So that's what I'm just showing, 16:1 or 5:1. And this graph that I showed you, it is from Monica Carmin paper, genetics paper 2015. You can go and read it. Okay? So there is a sudden change in the male Y chromosomes bottleneck. How significant is it? 16:1 or 5:1? 2 more questions. When did it happen? I just drew the vertical line there. It tells you 7,500 years ago. Does that ring a bell? Okay. Now the one more question before we answer that. Where did it happen? Where was the epicenter? What is your guess? India. Okay. Where is the proof? It's not here on this page. The proof is here. Here. Bit complicated to see, but I'll just draw one. So what we have here, just don't read the numbers, just say any deviations from that horizontal line is a Y chromosomes bottleneck. Can you remember that? See, the dark green line is for India, like it says South Asia. Ignore South Asia, it's India. See, the first one to go down, longest to stay dead at the bottom, and the last one to recover. Everyone follows what I'm doing? Okay, that was India. Now help me. I said ask you to remember something for 20 minutes. How far vast people participated? As far as west, like the Middle East participated, and in the east, right? So Middle East is that Near East. Okay? So the Near East is the next guy to go down. You see that orange color, what is it? Orange color line. It kind of came down and went up. And next one is the Southeast Asia, that is that blue line. You follow? And now I'm going to ask you $1 million question, but if you answer correctly, all I'm going to do is clap. Okay? Look at the Europe and Central Asia, the yellow and then the whatever that other color is, like a peacock color or something. You see the same signature of them going down and then coming up, but much delayed than what you saw for India. Who can explain?
Migration.
migrations. So whatever the signature that has happened in this, now people say few samples, like this, a diverse crowd from India. So suddenly if we take the pictures and if we say this function is happening in Chennai, do you think anyone would doubt? No. Why? Because that same Indian signature, we brought it here. A small sample, do you follow what I'm saying? So this same signature, that bottleneck that has happened, when that group of people goes outside, they are going to take that signature with them. Okay, 2000 years later, that is called Yamanya migration. And we see the evidence for this into genetics migration of domestic mouse. We see genetic migration of zebu cows, on and on. This all information is there, I'm not showing it here. Okay? Alright, so now quickly 2 for Ramayana and then we'll get into question answers. Okay, so the answers are here. Paleontology. How many of you remember reading this in Ramayana? When Hanuman goes to Lanka in search of Sita, he sees Ravana's palace is guarded by security guys, but someone else. Elephants or elephants-like creatures, I'm saying this deliberately, with 2, 3, 4 tusks. Now, how many of you have been to the zoo or how many of you have seen an elephant before? Good. How many of you have seen an elephant with 4 tusks? You have? Where?
Two tusks.
No, 4 tusks.
Oh, 4. No.
No. But Hanumana saw one with a 4 tusks. Okay? And statements like this from Valmiki Ramayana or Arundhati Vasishta statement were used by people within India who did not understood that this to be Ityasa or Western Indologists. They said, look, that's the kind of nonsense these folks write in their text. But now we know something. Mammoths. If you go back, this is after Darwin, last 150 years or so, people started digging. And now we know many, not just one. I'm just showing you one Gompo theory as a variety. There were elephant-like creatures who had 4 tusks. Okay? And they became extinct 9000 BC. Is that a problem for Ramayana? Ramayana timing? No, it's not a problem because Ramayana happened 14,000 years ago. These 4 tusked elephants were there. Okay? And one last one. How many of you watch my Ranveer show, TRS? Just a few. Guys, everyone else should watch it, okay? So, because I did talk about it. Sugriva knew, now the Ramayana happened just more or less like India and all the way to the equator. But Sugriva knew about the world geography 14,000 years ago, this part. All the way in the east from the South American Andes to the west in the Alps, he calls it Udaya Parvata to Andes. To the Alps, he calls it Astagiri. He knew all the way up to the Arctic Sea, he calls it Uttara Payasam Nidhi. Even he talks about Aurora Borealis, Northern Lights. He says, Surya Namate Loka. The place sometimes doesn't have a sun at all, but still it is very bright. Okay? Mahabharata also describes it. When Arjuna goes there, he also describes the Aurora Borealis. Okay? So that's there, and all the way to the south to Yamapuri. Can you take a guess what Sugriva is calling Yamapuri? That's what he calls, by the way. Antarctica. Okay? And if I had a time, I would have gone there. I'm just going to show you something in the east. Okay? Now, before that, I'm showing some genetic paper from 2015, another David Wright from Harvard. The reason I'm showing this is, if I don't show this graph, okay, the Western audience is fine, but the Indian says, but were there people in South America? Yeah, there were people. Okay? Actually, so this is a trail going from India. Okay? This is out of migration, out of India migration in the eastern direction. More than 50,000 years ago, more than 33,000 years ago. How do we know that? If you look at these places like Monteverde in Chile, it's like going back to 33,000 years. If you look at Panama, there is evidence of human presence going back to 50,000 years. Guys, all we have to do is stop watching reels and shorts and stuff like that. Just read the papers. It's out there. Even just start with Wikipedia, not bad. Okay? Going back to 50,000 years. The reason I showed this is, those of you who watched it might have seen it. This is a structure from Peru, the west coast of Peru. When Spaniards came there 500 years ago, they saw this structure, they asked the local guys, Ayamara Indians, Quechua Indians, did you do it? Yeah, and just like a Bart Simpson, they said, no, we didn't do it. How about your parents? How about your grandparents? They said, they didn't do it. They said, it was always there. They don't know who made the structure, why it was made, when it was made. What if I tell you, Ramayana tells who made the structure, when it was made, why it was made? Not only that, it even describes the structure. See, how many of you can read Nagari script, like what is written there? Yeah? Just try understanding, look at the picture and see if you can make a sense of it. Trishira Kanchana Ketu. Trishira, trident, Trishira, three heads. Kanchana, golden. Ketu, a poles-like structure, like a flag-like structure, stick. Talas Tasya Mahatmana, like a palm tree, a big palm tree. It is 800 feet tall. Stapita Parvata Sagre, it is created, established at the front of the mountain, Parvata Sagre. Virajati Savedika. At the bottom, if you look carefully, there is a rectangle, just like we do the Agnihotra. Swaha, 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 like that at the bottom. But the next verse I have not printed here, but just next verse to this, it says why it was made, who made it, when it was made. Purvasya Rishi Nirmanam Krutam Tat Tri Dasheshware Tatam Para Hemamaya Sriman Udaya Parvata. Where it is there? He says to establish the eastern direction, just like the international day line. Somewhere you have to change. Tri Dasheshware, Indra, who is the deity of east direction, established it. Possibly the two translations. It says Krutam Tat Tri Dasheshware. In the Kruta Yuga, or Indra made it. And if you go beyond this, there is a Sriman Udaya Parvata. Ramayana also says something. It says this is an insignia. Everyone understand insignia? Like a symbol of the Mount Ananta, which is that Udaya Parvata, Andes mountain. Now I don't have a slide on this. I would encourage every one of you to go to Amazon and find a book, The Flag of Ananta by Mitra Desai. Okay, very small books. Great book for anyone to read, 10,000 words. One sitting you can finish it. Great book for children. Okay, she talks about this. What if I tell you in the Andes there are 4 to 5 peaks actually named Ananta, and they are not named by Indians or anyone with a knowledge of India, at least not in the last 2,000, 5,000 years. Monte Ananta, Cerro Ananta. Just after my talk you can just go to Google. The young crowd, go to Google and just type Ananta in Andes. Cerro Ananta, Punto Ananta, Monte Ananta. Okay? And if you hear the word Ananta, Ananta Dev, what comes in front of you? What do you visualize? A snake? Right? Snake with multiple hoods. Now I don't know if there's a connection, but actually in Peru you can find engraved snakes with multiple hoods. They are called polycephalic snakes, like but they can be found everywhere. So I don't know if there is a connection. So what I did is I showed you Ramayana dating, Mahabharata dating using astronomy to begin with. Now that leads to many other questions. Many other questions on all these different disciplines. All I showed you is like a 2 each for each of these. So that's like a 4 of those, but there are many more. And this is all I have done, but just the time is limited. I want to leave some time for question and answer. Now, if you are saying, okay, thank God, it's done. What we just covered, you see those black dots there, Mahabharata at the top and Ramayana, and maybe somewhere here. Actually, there is enough evidence, sufficient evidence that takes you back to 75,000 years. And I just decided to stop at 75,000 years because I don't want you to have a mental indigestion. Okay? Actually, there is sufficient references that can take us, Rigvedic references that can take us back to 220,000. And we are not saying that there was no civilization before that, it's just that we don't have a physical evidence of it. And if you search, maybe there will be evidence, we just don't know that. Okay? And I think that may be my last slide, so, okay. Okay? Now, if people say, oh, I don't want to look at the smartphone light, I'm a very caring person, I thought of those individuals. Okay, you can go to Amazon, get these 3 books, Okay, if you are in India and you want to save money, okay, you can get these. Okay, here you might, I don't know what it is, you might pay $50 for the 3 books. If you go in India, like for 1,000 rupees, you can get the 3 books, your choice. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you, Nilesh. That was very interesting and eye-opener for many of us. We'll take some questions. So I would like people who have questions to come forward because we don't have wireless mic. Please tell your name and ask your question. Yeah, come forward.
My name is Ritesh.
One minute. And at the end of it, question answer session, I want, maybe we'll have few juries here, okay, to decide what was the best question, and that person gets this mug, okay, with, this was the show Itihasa Chronicles done 3 days ago in Fremont, okay, so that person, that individual gets this. So ask questions.
So I had, I know you have been following a lot of these timelines through astronomy, right? And a lot of the astronomy are written in all our books. What was the technology back then where they could accurately say this is Mercury or this is some other planet, when we today also without telescopes have a hard time looking at this?
Okay.
So
That is the question?
yeah.
Okay. Everyone understood the question? Okay. So what was the technology to identify a specific planet? The question is still relevant, but not so much for identifying specific planets. Actually, if you are observing it for some time, how many of you are like a visual astronomers? Right? So would you agree with me? So if you are observing for some time, I can look at it. Sometime it's possible I may confuse between, say, Jupiter and Venus. Occasionally, maybe even between Mars and Saturn, right? Depending on the condition. But otherwise, not an issue. I mean, if you are observing it every day, Mercury you hardly see. You have to be in the right place at the right time and so on and so forth. Of course, you see it. But Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, I mean, those are the easily visible to the naked eye. Those are very easy to find out. Anyone has a problem identifying moon and a sun? No? Okay. And then of course the Rahu and Ketu are what? Mathematical points, okay? Where the moon's orbit cuts the sun's orbit and so on. So that's not an issue, but I will still take your question, which is extremely valid. Is like, how did the ancient Indian folks made these measurements, precise measurements, okay? And the simple answer is we don't know. That's a simple answer. But if you read Surya Siddhanta, if you read Aryabhatiya, if you read many other astronomy texts, actually there are chapters how to make sophisticated instruments to observe them. Okay? And you will be amazed, flabbergasted by the type of accuracy and precision, but something else, the pragmatism. Which is to say, when not required, they just did not artificially go for some crazy level of accuracy. Do you follow what I am saying? Crazy level of precision. What that means, suppose you have to say the distance between Sacramento and Atlanta. How would you describe it? I mean, pick a number. I am not looking for accuracy, but how would you describe it?
1,000 miles.
Huh?
1,000 miles.
Yeah, so, or you might say 7,500 miles, something like that, right? You won't say 7,583 miles, 83.2892. Not required. You will see all Indian astronomy and many other Indian sciences, when required, they went for extreme precision. When not required, they just use simple numbers. Sometimes they use pi value as 3. Now the Western folks, when they saw that, they said, oh, these guys don't know, it's 3.14 and whatnot. No. In that particular case, the value of a 3 is sufficient for what they are trying to do. You understand? Somebody you tell, hey, bring some flowers for puja. You know, you don't have to be very precise. Bring some flower. What colors? Bring some colors. Few different colors. So then you don't need a precision one. But otherwise there are information. Yeah, let's go next.
Next question.
My name is Sandesh Malpure. As a child, I always struggled believing Mahabharata or Ramayana because of mythological figures like Ravana. Like, you really did an excellent job explaining us the timeline, and I'm convinced that it really happened. But I'm still not convinced that Ravana had 10 heads. So how do you justify, or have you done any research to demystify or to maybe debunk such theories?
Yeah, okay. So this is good, but what about the 10 heads of Ravanas? Okay. You can go through these texts, you can research as much as you like, and actually you are going to find many of these what you say, exaggerated type of descriptions, they fall off. All you have to do is read Valmiki Ramayana, read Mahabharata. Having said that, still some mysteries will remain. Maybe it's the language, we are trying to understand the language after 14,000 years, after 7,500 years. Just as I'll come to your answer, just the Ravana specifically, so tell me if I forget. But just as a thought experiment, do this. We are reading something from 7,500 years ago or reading something from 14,000 years ago. Follow what I'm saying? Now just do the backward experiment. Imagine we write something today, or the discussion that we are doing here, how did you come today? Which car did you drive? Or did you take your chariots, and how many horses do you have? Okay? That kind of discussion. And just take these discussions today. Let's go back to the time of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, just only 400 years ago. Okay? And the description, hey, what is that phone? Is it Apple or Android? Shivaji Maharaj, please tell me, which phone do you have? Okay? Is the range good on Raigad? These words will become totally alien to somebody only reading something 400 years ago. You follow what I'm saying? For phone, for technology, and so on and so forth. It's important to keep that in mind. Something that was written 14,000 years ago, composed 14,000 years ago, 7,000 years ago, or Rigveda, more than 25,000 years ago. When we are reading it, we are trying to understand it with whatever we know around us. You follow? Like somebody saying, not that long ago, like Ben Franklin's time, So Ben Franklin made a couple of trips to London, and he just writes in his journey, the autobiography, the tough journey he had. And now do you have a tough time? No, just sit there. If you're from Boston, it's like a 4-5 hours and you are there. So Ben Franklin was in Boston. You tell him, yeah, hey, I went to London yesterday or 3 days ago, I came back today. And he says, what, are you nuts? It is the context. Okay, so some things are different. Now, Ravana is easy to understand. Sometimes it is used in the metaphorical sense, like a polyglot we use. Polyglot, literally what would it mean? Multiple tongues. If you literally think of it, multiple mouths, multiple tongues, correct? That's the word. But do we mean by that? Polyglot meaning multiple tongues, multiple mouths? No, what do we mean? The person speaks multiple languages. Similarly, a very intelligent person, who Ravana was, amazing. When Bhagwan Ram saw him first time on the battlefield, he was impressed. He says, who is this person? Even when he knew it's Ravana coming. Okay? Someone very amazing, knew about almost any discipline of science that you can relate to, from music to Ayurveda to whatnot. He was an amazing person. And we can talk about Ravana for long, but my point is, through that as a metaphorically like multiple heads. Now, because of that, some descriptions will also come, like Rama kills one, removes one head, and another head appears, and so on. That's why I said some mysteries will always remain. But I'll give you one example. When Hanumana goes through the palace Lanka, and finally he does find Ravana sleeping on his bed. Do read that description. That description is with one head and two hands. Okay, so that can kind of help us. Thank you.
I have two questions.
Forward, please.
Thank you, this is Shrita. I have two questions. When you say current Dwarka is not the real Dwarka, it's underwater. Current Lanka is not the real Lanka. Where is Atlantis? Okay, first question. The second is, when you say the water rise by 45 feet or 30 meters, it should be all over the globe. Right? It should not be only near the Dwarka or near the Lanka.
Right.
Why it is only that place?
Okay. Which means, see, this is the kind of questions I like. Do you know why? Because he has done his homework. See, he has seen it. He has looked at my data. Otherwise, he wouldn't ask that question. Now, he noticed something possibly. You noticed it right here. See, in Dwarka, I said 15 meters sea level rise, or if you take additional 23 meters sea level rise. But when I showed Caribbean, it was, for the Dwarka, it was only 6.5. How many of you noticed? Okay, if you haven't noticed, you give him a big hand for noticing it for you. Okay, so remember, all the oceans are connected with each other, and we did that experiments. If the liquid is all connected, water, it eventually aligns the same line. One simple answer is, basically the data, the sea level rise affects the certain type of evidence in a certain way. 1,000 years when it's collected, it might cause that variation. Number one, that's one. Second one is, when we are taking these readings, there is so we are looking at the sea level, and yes, sea level should be at the same level, but there is something called a land subsidence, phenomenon called land subsidence, because the land is also rising. In fact, when I talked of Dholavira and Lothal, the reason they were ports is not only that the ocean level went up, but actually there is a geological evidence to show that the height of Lothal and Dholavira was actually lower than what it is today. So that's called land subsidence. It can go up or it can go down. So, but sea level is same, but at a specific place, what is the land is relative to that specific location, and that causes it. Thank you.
And where is Atlantis?
Where is Atlantis? Okay. If someone has $1 million, I have an answer. We don't know where Atlantis is. In fact, how many of you are familiar with the work of Graham Hancock? Graham Hancock, right? You know. So, and not just Graham Hancock. People have speculated location of Atlantis to be everywhere. I mean, right in Antarctica, to in Atlantis, to west of Ireland. I mean, you just name a place. You know, it has become like a conspiracy thing. You know, people can write books. They also say, Nilesh, why do you write these boring, tiring, technical books? Write one on Atlantis. You know, we don't know the location of Atlantis. Thank you. Hey, you can come in the front, like when you ask a question. Those who have questions, come in the front.
Yeah, please line up.
So we can save time. We can save time.
Amit, I have a counter to Shrikant's. So the historical texts say, and also you mentioned Somnath is where Dwarka was, which is somewhat closer to the Indian peninsula. And actual Dwarka, where Dwarka is today, is also Dwarka where Dwarka was submerged. So was Dwarka so big to be able to go from west to where Somnath is? First. Second, if Dwarka was really that big, were there two gateways? Because the Purans mention Somnath as being one of the gateways. So were there 2 or 3 different gateways? And third, why is there, today if you go, the last 2 years they've done research where actual Dwarka is, and they've found that small city. Why couldn't they find something near Somnath?
Okay, good. So 3 questions, they can be combined into the 2. So I was stopping him on the first question because first question was that Dwarka, Krishna's Dwarka today, and I'm saying Somnath starts swimming 15 kilometers. So was Dwarka that big? The answer is no. Therefore the second question is redundant, you know, so like this. The third question, everyone follows what I'm saying? The third question is recent excavations near Bet Dwarka, where Krishna's, what we call Krishna Mandir and Dwarka, we found a lot of objects. How come we have not found objects near Somnath? Okay? Okay. Because, first thing we just don't know, number one. Because we don't know what we don't know. Nyaya Darshan says, Pramana Taschartha Pratipatte. We can only talk of the evidence that we have. We can just speculate as to why I did not find it, and the answer could be, maybe it's washed away by water, maybe somebody already stole it, maybe somebody, we have not excavated that region, searched for that region. Do you follow? I can have 10 different reasons for it, but the fact remains that we haven't found anything, or at least it's not there that we are aware of. Pramana Taschartha Pratipatte. We can talk of the evidence we have. Maybe if we dig down, you know, if we dive there, maybe we will find it. We just don't know. Actually, I'm saying you have to go and actually that whole area we find things. When these marine guys go there, they actually jump into not just Bet Dwarka. They found things. They have found things. I don't know if they have found things near Somnath. So, Pramana Taschartha Pratipatte. We should only talk of the evidence we have. We should definitely spend efforts to find more evidence. And one more thing, because I'm mentioning this is Nyaya Darshana 4.2.29. The next one, next sutra is very important, 4.2.30, which is lost on many. Do you know what it says? Pramana Anupapatya Upapattibhyam. The translation goes, the evidence that we don't have, or let's call it non-evidence. Can you stick with that? So this we don't have it. The non-evidence, something that is not there, it doesn't help us, even if we want to see it, but it's not there. It does not help us to prove something, it does not help us to disprove something. You follow? Say for example, one of the Indian astrophysicists saying, unless you show me the fuselage and the engine of a Pushpak Viman, I will not believe that Ramayana happened. Okay? That is scientifically inaccurate, it's unscientific, it's illogical, it's idiotic. It's idiotic. There is no logic in it, there is no science in it. We can only talk of the evidence we have and we can talk about it. Did that answer? Thank you.
Since everybody is asking multiple questions, I have to
ask. Look at my grey hair.
I have only two.
But you can stand there. Just I'll ask one, I'll answer, then you ask second. And if you can ask a question in a magical way that I have to only answer yes or no, I love those questions. Okay?
Okay, so the first one is, I know you said I don't want to go into Manvantara, Yuga and all that.
But we can.
But whatever I just saw was the 4 lakh, 8 lakh, so 12, 16. So the Mahabharata can still be fit because it was the end of Dwapar Yuga, right? Even if I do the 4 lakh.
Yeah.
But
what is the question?
But Ramayana dating with the Treta Yuga.
864. I know. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
8 lakhs.
So what do you see as a problem? Just ask the question.
12,000 is not 8 lakh years.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. Everyone understood? Everyone should have this same question. If you are equally brainwashed, no, just kidding. Okay. Again, your homework goes up. There is a 20-year-old young guy, Jeevan Rao. Okay, he started researching this when he was 20. Now he's 25. At 23, he wrote a book called Yuganta. It's available on Amazon. Okay, a well-written book. At 23, he published the book, which is a revolutionary book, which answers that question. I will answer it, of course. Okay. But does everyone have the same question he has? Because most of you ought to have it. He said, and you said it very well, thank you. He said, Mahabharata, okay, 5,000, 7,000, English, I give you benefit of doubt. But Ramayana happened in Treta Yuga. And how long is the Kali Yuga? Anyone? 400, no, don't just in general, 432,000 years. You have to be very precise.
It's a binary number, yes.
Indian astronomy. Dwapar Yuga is how long? You know? Twice that, 864,000. Treta Yuga is 3 times. And Krita Yuga is 4 times. And if you combine all that, it comes to 4.32 million years. Everyone follows? Okay. So he said, fine. Actually, he said very well. Mahabharata, okay, let's not worry about it. But Ramayana is a big problem. You are saying it happened 12,000 BC, 14,000 years ago. So you should have asked, Nilesh, do you agree that Ramayana happened in Treta Yuga? Well, I have to agree because that's what Valmiki Ramayana says. It's happening in Treta Yuga and many other places. So that's what he's saying. The Dwapar Yuga is in between 864,000 years, so approximately million years. So it has to be before million years. Anyone wants to answer? Ma'am? No? Anyone else? And she has watched all my videos there. Anyone else? You get the cup. Okay. This 432,000 years or 864,000 years, Dwapar, Treta, something. This numbering game, it has, listen carefully, okay? Next time I want you to answer that question, anyone asks you that in a social gathering. It has this business of 432,000 years of Kali Yuga, 864,000 years of Dwapar Yuga. See, my tongue rolls. Those many times I have answered this question. It has nothing, absolutely nothing, nada, to do with Itihasa, to do with the chronology. No matter who says what, where, in which Purana, which Grantha, which Swami says that. Send that Swami to me, please. Ask that Swamiji, please, to write me an email. Do you know where this number comes from?
It's not in Bhagavad. The calculation is in Bhagavad.
I will tell you where it is come from. This number comes in the astronomy text and only in the astronomy text. Okay? Surya Siddhanta, Arya Bhattiya, pull any other text. Do you know why these numbers are given? These numbers are given to accurately and precisely tell us the orbital periods of planets. Don't trust me. Go and download Surya Siddhanta, archive.org, multiple copies, Hindi translation, English translation. Have a blast. Read that. You'll see this. Same thing with Arya Bhattiya. So what has happened? Sometime these numbers were used by the Purana writers, or if not Purana writers, the people who did the translations and commentaries of the Purana writers. So they were aware, 432,000 Kali Yuga. They just did not know where this Kali Yuga came from. It only comes in astronomy, it does not come into Mahabharata and Ramayana. In fact, Mahabharata has 5 or 6 different theories of Yuga. And the entire Indic system has 36 different definitions of Yuga. Okay? I'll give you 3 or 4 and see if that makes a change. In fact, those people who are listening to my 3rd lecture in the 4 days, they are bored to death. You know, they're saying, hey, we heard that, but that's a great question, because but guys, if you just listen to this and another time you go and ask the same question, or somebody asks the question and you remain idle, you are not helping me. You have to learn this answer, learn this and tell those people. Okay, we have to expand our folks, who can take this message. I'll give you some 4 definitions of Yuga. Yuga always doesn't mean time. Okay, for example, Aitareya Brahmana, it is connected with Rigveda. You know the Brahmana Grantha? It's like a manual. When you buy a car, you get the car and you get multiple manuals. One manual, the maintenance manual, another one is a quick guide, quick start guide. This is how it is. There is a Samhita, there is a Brahmana Grantha, there is a Aranyaka, there is a Upanishad. And in spite of this, I still don't understand Vedas. They say, okay, now read Mahabharata, now read Ramayana. They say, I don't understand it. Now read Purana. But I still am confused. Now read Nyaya Darshana. You see, that's how it has been created. Read Bhagavad Gita. No. Read Om. Just say Om. There is a Muktikopanishad. It says Om. It says, you still don't understand it, don't say anything. It says that. Muktikopanishad says that. So there are different ways. One definition of a yuga from Aitareya Brahmana, it has nothing to do with the time, it has to do with action. Do you know what it says? Kalo Shayano Bhavati. When you are sleeping, you are in the Kali Yuga. Every night we go to Kali Yuga. Okay? And then when you wake up, but still sitting in the bed, you are in the Dwapar. When you get up, stand up there, you are in the Treta. And when you start acting, whatever your actions you have to do, okay? Krutam Sampadyate Charan. When you become active, when you start walking, you are in Satya Yuga. Stay in Satya Yuga, it says. Charayaveti, Charayaveti, Charayaveti. Keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. This is one definition. Don't get stuck into that one definition from astronomy. It's very important. It has nothing to do with the history, nothing to do with the chronology. I'll give you one more. In a bhakti, how many of you have heard the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Okay, great saint from West Bengal, okay, made parikrama around India or something. He did not write much, but his disciples, the Shad Goswami, they wrote a lot of philosophical literature. But he wrote only 8, he's attributed with the 8 shloka. What is the name? Shikshashtakam. One of those is he saying when he was a great Krishna Bhakta, he was considered an avatar of Krishna, but we'll not go into that. Krishna Bhakta, he says, when I feel separation from Krishna, this is how I feel. Yugayitam nimeshena chakshusha pravrushayitam shunyaditam jagat sarvam govinda virename. There is a word yuga in it. Govinda virename. When I have a separation from Govinda, okay, I feel everything, there is nothing in the world. Shunyaditam jagat sarvam. Nothing exists for me. Chakshusha pravrushayitam. My eyes, the water starts flowing from both of my eyes because of that separation. And even when I miss him, Krishna, for a nimesha, yugayitam nimeshana, blink of an eye, that time, that separation feels like a yuga. And then the Shad Goswamis, they have done different commentaries. One person said it seems like a 432,000 years possibly. Another Goswami, Jiva Goswami, says that refers to 12 years. That's a different point. These are interpretation. But he's saying yugayitam nimeshana. What is he saying? Is he talking of a time? No, he's talking of a bhakti, he's talking of an emotion, he's talking of a separation. We can go like this. For example, Rama is also avatar, Rama is also Yuga Purush, and Krishna is also Yuga Purush. Mahabharata, that is the Yuga. Mahabharata Yuga and he is a Yuga Purush. Ramayana Yuga, he is Yuga Purush. Great question you ask, okay? Ramayana the Mahabharata itself gives definition. Do you know what Mahabharata's definition is? It gives 5 definitions, but one more. He says, Raja Kalasya Karana. The way the king, the administrator rules his kingdom or his country or whatever, that brings a certain type of yuga. Multiple times Bhishmacharya says to Yudhishthira, nothing else. It is the king and how he administers that brings, of course because he is advising the king. He says that's how you bring a certain yuga. I'm not advising the kings. I'm advising, say, citizens, let's say. So I'm going to add Raja Kalasya Karanam, I will say Praja Kalasya Karanam. Here we have perfect civic sense. But in India, like right at the airport, like you have to take the stuff out and somebody comes there and says, give me the box there and bypasses the line. Now when I'm traveling in India, now I have sufficient time, I just say, hold on, you're not going anywhere. You must develop civic sense. Praja Kalasya Karanam. Depending on how we behave, will bring a certain type of yoga. And it is there. I'll give you 2-3 examples. Again, Mahabharata guys. This is how detailed, in a meticulous, tiring detail, Mahabharata and Ramayana and all our ancient literatures have taken pain to explain. We have to read it. For example, do you know what Bhishmacharya says? Remember Chitravidya and Vichitravidya? Right? 2 young boys there. Bhishma was ruling on their behalf. And you know what Mahabharata tells us, Vaishampayan or whoever, they tells us, which is Mahabharata. He says, Bhishmacharya was ruling the Kuru kingdom in such a way that in Dwapar Yuga, he brought Satya Yuga. You can go and read this. Parshuram, he got rid of the miscreant Kshatriya, those who were not following the Kshatriya Dharma, 21 times. And Mahabharata says, by doing that every time, Parshurama brought Satya Yuga in Treta Yuga. About Ramayana in Purana, not in Valmiki Ramayana, it says when Bhagwan Ram came back to Ayodhya and then he ruled Ayodhya, that's why we call Ramarajya. He was ruling in such a way that in Treta Yuga, he brought Satya Yuga. Thank you. Next question.
Yeah, I know it took a lot of time, but that 26 star thing, isn't it cyclic? And maybe we can go back and it may still have happened a million years ago, correct?
Yeah, and Ramayana could be that long.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone understood this
That
question?
can answer your question still, right?
Yeah. No, you can ask the question.
Right. What I'm saying is it doesn't have to be the 12,000, it
Huh.
can be the 1,012,000.
Very good. What is your name, sir?
Sanjeev Jagirdar.
Sanjeev Jagirdar? Okay. Okay, give him a big hand. Okay. What goes to him? So, did you understand the question he asked? He says, okay, so I said the what is that? Brahma Rashi and Canopus, they were the pole stars 12,000 BC, going from our times. But if you go through 26,000 years, they will again be pole stars. Okay? So why did I give him a cup? Because I don't know the answer. No, just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. So it's a great question he asked. He says, why not go back and just say 12,000 BC, I buy it. I mean, he's willing to accept it. But what about like a 12,000 plus 26,000? Everyone follows? Because again, we would have a pole star. And fortunately, Valmiki Ramayana would knew, okay, in 21st century there would be intelligent, bright people and they will ask tough questions. So he has given the evidence. I'll give you quickly 2 or 3. So please listen, okay? Very, very great questions. This nakshatra system, first I will start astronomy. Which way you want, astronomy or ground first?
Ground first.
Ground first, okay, very good. Let's start with the reverse. We have sufficient geological evidence that tells us that Yamuna started, listen carefully, Yamuna started meeting Ganga. Yamuna used to meet Saraswati. Satluj used to meet Saraswati. Now Saraswati is not there. How many of you have gone to Saraswati? Okay, it's a trick question, guys. The answer is no. Okay. Now people say Mana in Uttarachal, but that's also not the correct one. Okay, anyways. So Yamuna separated from Saraswati and started meeting Ganga, and enormous geological evidence tells us, enormous 200 plus papers. Right from 1986, Mary Cordy, Henry Frankfurt 1992, Peter Cliff 2012, Gupta and Singh 2017, Dave 2018. I can tell you this to just impress you guys, not required. You can go and check these papers, okay? Consistently, Yamuna met Ganga sometime after 50,000 years ago. 50,000 years ago, only in the last 50,000. Why is this important? In the context of Ramayana, the question you asked. Because in Valmiki Ramayana, you have at least 4 to 6 instances where in explaining something as a metaphor, as an analogy, it says just like Yamuna meets Ganga, something is happening here. Yamuna meets Ganga, Yamuna meets Ganga. Everyone follows? That description would not come any time before 50,000 years. Follow that. Let's fast forward. When Bharat is coming from Kekaya to Ayodhya after Dashratha passed away, There is a beautiful description. This is Ayodhya Kand. Do read it, okay? Beautiful descriptions. He crossed this river, he crossed this river, he came here, he came through Haryana and so on. There is a description of river Shatudru or Shatudri, which is Satluj. And do you know what it says? Because in the past, if you go to Rigveda, Satluj is coming straight, Shatudri, and was meeting Saraswati. Okay? Something happened. This is a paper of Singh and Gupta from IIT Kanpur. Okay? Nature Communication, 2017. Okay? 15,000 years ago, very, very precise data, that Satluj that was coming straight down. How many of you are from Punjab? Okay. Everyone knows Ropar or Rupanagar. What has happened there? The Satluj that was coming straight down, it sharply turned westward and then started flowing westward towards Ravi and eventually to Sindhu. This Singh paper says it happened precisely 15,000 years ago. Now why is this important? Because as the Bharat is coming to Ayodhya, the description says that beautiful river with a big wide base, the Patra, that river which turns westward and flows, that Shatudri, he crossed that river. Stay with me. As geological evidence tells us that turning of westward only happened in the last 15,000 years. And Ramayana says that's how the river is flowing. So that description will not occur if the Ramayana or that description happened more than 15,000 years ago. Everyone follows? Okay. And I can go on. Now let me go to astronomy. Ramayana describes this 27 nakshatra system that Ramayana uses 600 astronomy descriptions. It's exactly same as Mahabharata. Except, anyone with the name Swati in the audience? No? You can pretend. Okay. So Swati Nakshatra, you know, in the Taittiriya Brahmana or Apastamba Gruhya Sutra, it has a different name called Nishtha. And do you know what Nishtha means? Don't jump to the conclusion. I know what you will say. No. Nishtha means foreigner or traveler. In what sense? Because if you use Indian astronomy and go backwards, do you know what find? That Swati or Arcturus, those who are into astronomy, that was not the nakshatra, but it was a pole star. If you go back to 58,000 BC, 58,000, 60,000 years ago. 60,000 years ago, Swati was not a nakshatra of 27, but it was a pole star. So, if Ramayana is using a whatever, if from older times, say older than, I don't know what exact time, but say take 60,000, it would not refer to Swati as a nakshatra. Everyone follows what I am saying. We know that Ramayana is in the last 60,000 years. Just on that, one more, last one. Rohini nakshatra, everyone knows. Anyone with the name Rohini? Again, you can pretend, you know, okay. So Rohini nakshatra, if you look at the proper motion, if you go back 150,000 years in the past, Rohini is no longer a nakshatra. It goes to the North Pole area. But that Rohini is there in the Valmiki Ramayana as a nakshatra, meaning into the 27 nakshatra. That tells us Valmiki Ramayana cannot be older than 150,000 years. You follow? Thank you.
Thank you for your scientific approach to everything, and I like that. So I have two questions. One is more on the literary side.
Just
one is on
jump into question.
Yeah.
Question
so,
one.
Question one for Mahabharata, which is, you said, from Syria.
Don't worry what I said. Just jump to the question. You know.
Okay. Is there any documents or any literature that is outside of Indian context that describes the loss of so many men at that time? Because it's a big earthquake, that means it was felt all across from Syria to Indonesia. Is there any literary evidence of talking about it, that there was such a big war happened and so many people died?
Okay. No, the answer is no. Go on.
Okay. Well, that was my question, because if something like that happened, if World War I happened, there was a lot of literary evidence about World War I that was in the countries that were not participating in the war.
Yeah.
Was there something like that at that time? That's my question.
Understand. So there is no literary description, but this is the data, Monica Carmin paper 2015, 92 authors by the way, okay, from around the world, and genomic data, which means they looked at every single genetic data point they have access to. That's how they are building the data right now, okay. But this is telling you the story. It may not be written in words, but it written in the genes, right? So if you look at the Europe, what is that yellow line is telling you? That same signature is coming there. Central Asia, same signature is coming there. That's what it's telling us. If you read the paper on, somebody's taking notes, okay? Domestic mouse migration. Okay, how many of you are from UP? You should feel very proud. Raise your hand. I know Ajay is from. They're old UP, not anymore. He is not raising his hand. No more. Then he's from Dehradun. Okay. What about anyone else from UP? Nobody? Okay. Well, nobody to feel proud. Okay. India, as Indians, we can feel proud. I don't know. Domestic mouse. Domestic mouse variety. They are around the world. You can find them here. Okay, in San Francisco or so. But if you look at the genetic data, this is Bonhomme, a German scientist, paper written in 2007, not Indian. So all Indians can very comfortably believe in the truth of that paper. If Nileshov writes a paper, everyone has a doubt. Okay? 2007 Bonhomme paper. If I had a map, I would have shown it. So you can go and look around this, and actually there is another paper which showing the domestic Indian mouse in Israel 12,000 years ago and 7,500 years ago and so on. But I'll just stay with a simple story. If you look at the genetic data and if you heard the word coalescence, like through the genetic map we try to see go backward, you know, like the flashback, you know, you go back and you come like this. Do you know where the coalescence occurs? It occurs in India. All the domestic varieties of mouse, they originated in India. And from India they went all parts of the world. Now, do you think domestic mouse went to Switzerland like let's go vacation? No. It went with the out of India migration, those people who took agriculture with them. So we have that evidence. Same ditto for zebu cow. The evidence of going from India to outside, especially in the west side. East they already had it, but west side. Post Mahabharata migrations, Yamanya migrations taking further. So we don't have a literary evidence for exactly what you asked. By the way, there is a literary evidence in the west. In the Greece, okay, literary evidence that you can corroborate the timelines I gave you, 7,500 years for Mahabharata, 14,000 years for Ramayana. If that question comes, I will answer that. Next question.
I have one more question. So, there is a time difference of about 6,000 years between Ramayana and Mahabharata and about same time from then to now, right? The technology in Ramayana was advanced, Pushpa Viman and other descriptions.
Yeah.
Mahabharata also had a similar thing, and we are here today. But if you go back 2,000 years, maybe 3,000 years, the civilization didn't have that technology.
Yes. Well, they had some, but not the aeroplanes.
Something happened between Mahabharata and now, or Ramayana and Mahabharata, that destroyed all the civilization. They were back to the Stone Age.
Yeah.
Is there any evidence, geological or any other evidence of such an event that basically brought the civilization back to Stone Age and we have to start all over?
Okay. So he just, thank you very much, he just gave me the answer on a platter that I'm going to say. Actually, we don't know whether there was some catastrophic event that destroyed the technology, because there may be a catastrophic event and the technology may survive, like some people may survive. But just because he asked, there was a significant event between the Ramayana and Mahabharata, okay, the quaternary extinctions, 11,000 BC event, also known as the Younger Dryas, if you have heard that, which was have you heard Younger Dryas? No? Okay, homework guys, Younger Dryas, okay, 11,000 BC to 9,600 BC. A lot of destruction, flora, fauna. In fact, the predictions are that almost like a 99% of the fauna was gone. Like these mammals and all these big things, you know, some are surviving in Australia, like kangaroo is from that time, for example. So it might have, but I'm not saying there is an explanation necessary for loss of technology. There can be many reasons. For example, try our young kids here, try telling them we use rotary phones. Now, of course, they may be found in the museum, but after some years they may be gone too. Or we use the, what is called VCR and stuff like that. I mean, so technology may sometimes go away for different reasons. Also, we can see some evolution, like the Vanaras were fighting with trees and stones, but even then, some people had very sophisticated technology, like Bhagwan Ram and Ravana had great Shastra and Astra. This is not different than if you go to the village today. So village people are in India or anywhere, they're just, you know, having their latest Apple phones or whatnot, but still, their mother may be making chutney on a pata or vanta, that's what is called in Marathi, I don't know what you guys call. So the old technology, the Stone Age, can totally coexist with the sophisticated Iron Age and Metal Age and Digital Age together. So that's the answer. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, someone keep track of time. I have no problem, but I just want to ensure.
You have just 2-3 people.
Okay, very good.
So thank you for your time today. Without giving much background, I'll straight away jump to the question. And it's a little bit different than Mahabharata and Ramayana. During your research, did you find any evidence about Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Lord Dattatreya, especially Datta?
Datta. I like such simple questions. Answer is no. By the way, I mean this is a question that's you know, there is a word called ultra. I told a couple of guys here at the beginning of the lecture. Ultra crepidarianism. Can you say it? Ultra crepidarianism, which is to say going beyond your level of expertise. Okay, that's the question like that. But you will see people who have had darshan, who meditate. They have a darshan of Shiva, of course, many.
Right.
Okay, Vishnu. Not many people pray to Brahma. Okay, so I don't know if you're going to find some. So that's there, but that's not my forte. That's not my expertise.
Right. Because the question which came to my mind was because you talked about TRS clips. And I'm going to watch that podcast. I was waiting for this lecture. But I watched other podcasts on Kailash Mansarovar and how people went and had their different energy, different, you know. So it's a mystery that today also there is some energy.
Yeah.
So that's why I was curious if, you know.
There are a lot of mysterious things, okay? And I mean, if I had time, I would tell you. Like, for example, like, that will totally digress the subject. But say I had a health issue. Now, if I tell you this, I'm telling you, you're going to say, I don't believe this guy anymore. See, that's the problem of it. Like say, okay, suppose if I say, yesterday night, okay? Yesterday night, Shiva came and gave me darshan and we had a chat for 20 minutes. How many of you believe it? Nobody. So even if I had a darshan of Shiva, I might not say it to you. You follow what I'm saying? For example, I had a certain health condition about 25 plus years ago. Now I know you're not going to believe this, but it's my experience, so I'm telling it, you know, just like this. No Brahma, no Vishnu. No, I'm not saying that. But it was so desperate, like I went through doctors, nothing was happening. And one night when I was sleeping, I cannot tell you whether it was a voice or it was some thought in my mind or something, whatever it was. But there was a whisper, as if like somebody saying that in your ear. Okay? And that is the reason why you don't share these things. Because at the end of it, nobody is going to believe me, I can tell you that. Huh?
During your research, you wasn't...
No, not research, here. Like this is nothing to do with Mahabharata Ramayana. It's my health condition. Like I had a psoriasis, scalp psoriasis. And the message that came into my like 4 o'clock or something in my ear is like fast only with water 36 hours. Now how many are believing in me? Thank you. Some of you, yeah. But see, but many others will not believe. So what kind of nonsense is that? No such thing happened to me. That is like this. Or I will tell you one more. Now you can see the evidence of that. We have to buy the historic Rama book for that. 2 appendices, you know, 2 appendices there. One is on the weekday names of, you would have read it, weekday names, like why Monday comes after Sunday and why Tuesday comes after Monday, that kind of thing. Do you know that those are the sequence used everywhere around the world? But only answer exists in India. And do you know where? In Surya Siddhanta and Aryabhatiya. So I had solved that problem, but except there was one problem. I was looking for an Indian reference, okay, Indian reference, which will tell me the day divided into 24 parts. You follow, just like we use it here. But most of the Indian calendars or Indian Puranic reference, wherever, even Mahabharata references, they were always talking of a Murta of a 48 minutes and therefore 30 Murtas. And that was not working for my thesis. You are keeping up with me? What I am saying so far? Now, this is in Atlanta, my book is ready and I am trying to decide whether I include this appendix in my book or not. The only catch was I needed something from an Indian text which divided the day into 24 parts. Follow? So far? When I am sitting into my study room in Atlanta, just suddenly a thought came to me. As if like somebody said something to me. I don't know if it was a whisper, maybe just a thought in my mind. And that's to say, not to say that I did not know this text, Bhagavad Puran. I had it in my puja room, I knew it, but the message was very clear. I'll tell you what the message was. Okay? The message said, go upstairs to that puja room, open Srimad Bhagavad Puran, either canto or skanda, whichever you want to say, canto number 3 or canto number 5, and you will get your answer. How many of you believe that now? Okay. I went there, I say whatever, and it's not like I did not know Bhagavad Puran. I mean, Ajay Prabhu and me are studying Bhagavad Puran for a very long time. But this is again the off context. So I went there into the canto 3rd and canto 5th and looked through the index because I'm looking for time, calendar, panchang, something, and look for the chapters. And there is one, I forgot now, actually you have to read my book to figure it out, either canto 3 or canto 5, one of the two. And this particular chapter, something saying like something on time or something like this, okay? You do find out, you can read the book. And in less than 30 minutes, I had my answer. And it is there in the book, the appendix. I came down, I finished that sidebar appendix I was writing, I included in the book, I published the book. The day was 28 January 2014. So yes, no Brahma, no Vishnu, but some basic stuff, kiddo stuff like this. Thank you. Shailesh. Ask yes, no question, just kidding.
Right. So actually my question is simple, right?
Is it?
Yeah, I watched your videos, and just to confirm, your position is that Mahabharata was written in Sanskrit 7,000 years back.
It's not my position.
Yeah, but right. So my only question is that, okay, my first question is, if that were the case, right, the Saraswati excavations, whatever you call as Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, let's call it Saraswati, to be fair to what it is, right? And the question is, the script that you find there is nowhere close to Sanskrit, and no one can decipher that script. So what would be the reason that, hey, we had a script, the script is not there in the same area, and then another 1,000, 2,000 years later it arrives?
Okay.
And how do we say that that is related to Sanskrit or it is not related?
Okay. Everyone understood the question? The IVC script, he's saying nobody has deciphered it, we don't know what it is, and I'm saying, yes, I'm asserting that Mahabharata was written 7,500 years ago and it was written in Sanskrit. So hey, how come we don't decipher it out? Quick answer. The IVC script is not completely deciphered, but it is not correct at all that it has not been deciphered at all. You are living here, you are in this area, okay, you should follow this. I come from Atlanta, and this is like more than 10 years ago. I made a point to fly to here, then fly to Sonoma County and meet one researcher named Sue Redalia Sullivan. Okay? In fact, she did this wonderful work on deciphering IVC script, and so she wanted to say, hey, who else wants to work with her? No Indian linguist came forward. No financial help came forward. Okay, I helped to the best of my ability. There were few who did this. I went to meet her. She went through a very extreme bad condition. And not because of that, she moved on to Rongo scripts, and she's just an amazing person that she's doing it. What she found, she has published, you can go and find it, Indus Script Dictionary. Go and look at this. So I will tell you the problem of deciphering it. Do you know the name Rajesh Rao, University of Washington, near Seattle? He made some efforts. Now I'll tell you. I tried to bring Rajesh Rao and Sue Sullivan together. Rajesh Rao wouldn't bother responding. That's the kind of Indian researchers we have. Why would he not respond? I mean, he's working in the same area and I bring this. Okay? There are 40 researchers in India claiming that they have deciphered Indus Valley script. Most of them are bozos. I'm on the camera and recorded. Okay, that's the case. Now there is one guy, he does not use his real name because of the problems that I'm saying. His name is Yajna Devam. How many of you are on Twitter? Nobody. Okay. His handle is Yajna Devam. Okay. He's based in Houston. That's all I can tell you. I'm going to meet him, but I won't post the picture. Okay. He has done phenomenal work, amazing work from Karnataka. That much I can tell you. And what is the summum bonum of this? That the IVC language is Sanskrit in origin. It is possibly Prakrit in origin. The R becomes L, like the Chinese guys say Lu, something like this. And there is also Apabhramsha. We have sufficient evidence of that. The challenge with IVC language is we do not have long sentences. Actually, I have even participated. We have gone through the extent of finding scripts written found in Afghanistan, written in IVC script. But guys, we are also doing full-time job. I'm not saying give me money or something, but just people are so indifferent. I mean, thank you for asking that question. But if, like I have a site, Sue Sullivan made that attempt, nobody listened. So, I mean, what is her benefit, guys? It is our script. Somebody else is doing it, and if we are not going to help or bring people together, nothing happens. But it's Sanskrit, it's Prakrut, it's Apabhramsha. The challenge is there are no long sentences. So these are like a short words. But what if I tell you, and you read Indus script dictionary, I wasn't convinced when Sue Sullivan was telling me. Do you know what convinced me? And there are many words, but I'll tell you a couple of words. One word is a naman. But that's also very simple. Things can repeat. What if I tell you there is one word which says, what is that yajna we do with horse? What is it called? Ashwamedha Veer. That is the word she found using on this. And this is very, very consistent. So it's not like she looked at it and said, this is Ashwa. No, nothing like that. She found from other voices, like logographic, logomorphic, the script. So it is there. Now, what was the question? The other question, Mahabharata and this. Oh, a script. Now what happens? You have to separate the script from the language. In fact, the language is perfect, like this machine is very perfect. But when we try to say ka kha ga gha na, so how many of you can say Jnaneshwar? Try saying it. Shraddha, Kshama. Any people from West Bengal here? You will struggle depending on what you do. This apparatus is very good, but we are trying to represent that in a script, and that's when the problem begins. That's why we, in the Indian context, we had the Uchchar, Varnamala, one of the Vedanga, Shiksha. We also had a script, but the emphasis was never put on the script. Therefore, notice, the 6 Vedangas doesn't have a script, if you think of it. But it has a Vakran, it has a Chanda, it has a Nirukta, you follow? But no script. Because script was considered defective because it causes defects. But we use the script. Thank you.
We have a next generation. Arnav.
You should have come earlier, you would have got the cup.
You said that some people from Europe went to fight in Mahabharata?
No. People from, say, Syria.
Oh, yeah, Syria. The Syrians came to fight?
Yeah.
And people from Indonesia?
Yes.
Southeast Asia?
Possibly, yeah.
But then it would have taken them years to get all the way over there in Afghanistan. So is that really the war you're talking about, or did they just come and enjoy killing people or something?
They just come and
Enjoy killing people or something?
Joy killing people.
Joy killing, paintball. Yeah? Have you played paintball? No? You should. Okay. That's like a joy killing, How many of you have played paintball? Yeah? Lots of fun, Until it hits you. Yeah. Okay. So no, actually they played. That's what the description tells us. And the war was in the making long time ago. So Duryodhana was gathering them. Most of the guys coming from the west fought on the Duryodhana side. Okay. So, but what is the question? So yeah, that is true. I mean, no, it wasn't a fun game.
So like my question is really like, did they find out about the war and then when they came, it had already ended and they just come?
Good question. War was in the making for 13 years. Okay, that's what it is. They knew the war would happen. Okay, so it's not like a suddenly one day guys show up in the 3 days. It wasn't like that. Yeah. Thank you. Great question. Yeah.
Namaste Nilesh. My question is for the time that came after Mahabharata and how it's sort of connected to the Saraswati Sindhu civilization. You've gone extensively to prove to us today that the AIT is wrong and the migration started from within India. But if I were to explain to my sons who argue with me every day that AIT is true, how would I explain with substantiated facts starting from Mahabharata to explain how that was a connection to Sindhu Saraswati civilization to where it is today?
Okay, very good. So thank you. Actually, a couple of questions. AIT, Sindhu Saraswati civilization. Okay, so let's start with Sindhu Saraswati civilization. It is a Western way of doing things, and I don't see anything wrong with it, but if not understood in the context, that creates a lot of confusion. For example, if they dig somewhere outside here and they find some pots, in a Western terminology, they are going to call it Sacramento civilization. You follow? Then they go to Fremont and they dig something and they find another pot or something, they are going to call it Fremont civilization. A common sense will tell you it is a Bay Area civilization or California civilization or American civilization. You follow? So the terminologies are very important. That's one aspect. How old is Sindhu Saraswati civilization? Take a guess and I'm going to tell you the answer.
3000 BC.
3000 BC? 18,000 BC? Okay. The answer is we really don't know. But let's talk about the evidence that we have. Do you know how long river, please stay there, how long river Saraswati was flowing? Anyone? 3000? One more time, first chance, you know it's an auction. 3000? 6,000, very good. 6,000 first one time.
10,000.
Yeah, we can go on and on. All you have to do is read the papers. Otherwise you just speculate. Shabda Jnana Anupati Vastushanyo Vikalpa. It leads to confusion, leads to delusion. James Blinkhorn, 2020 paper, Nature Communications, Nature. What he showed near Bikaner, anyone from Rajasthan? Where are you guys from? In Bikaner, okay, in Bikaner, at the quarry there, Nala quarry, because for the sand and construction, this team found that there is a path of river Saraswati going back to, listen to this very carefully, 172,000 years. Nature Communication, Nature, James Blinkhorn, first author, Cambridge. Cambridge guys, not really sure. You can trust this, right? Okay. So actually, how did they figure it out? If you go to the paper of Ghosh, okay, 1979, he has shown a possible. How many of you have heard the name Haribhau Wakankar? Padma Shri Haribhau Wakankar. That is his research, by the way. Then Ghosh worked on it, and now these other guys are working based on those maps and actually digging. So, in very ancient times, we don't know when, Saraswati flew near Jaipur, Ajmer, and what is that other place? Help me there. That area. Okay. Now, because the Earth plate, like India plate, is coming there and hitting Asia, and that's how Himalaya is formed. So those rivers kind of change their paths, you know. So then fast forward to 172,000 from unknown antiquity, that's when the river Saraswati was flowing near Bikaner. Fast forward to 70,000 years ago. Between 172,000 to 70,000 years, is Viraj here in the audience? No? Okay, so he must be gone. I mean, where is my ride now? You know, he gave me the ride. Okay, just fine. He must have gone. Yesterday night I was explaining this to him until 1:30. Then I slept and I'm here. Okay. So between 170,000 to 70,000, that's when the river was flowing near Bikaner. Then something happened. River moved to Kalibanga. Everyone knows the place. Suratgarh, Hanumangarh, Kalibanga, the border of Rajasthan and Punjab. That is where it continued. This is the paper of Singh and Gupta, Clift, Peter Clift, and many 20, 80 papers. And so there the Kalibanga, the river Saraswati, is flowing from 70,000 years ago to about 5,000 years ago. This is Saraswati. Not the one Mohenjo-daro and Harappa and you dug. That is not even Saraswati, that is Sindhu, for heaven's sake. Okay? But we think like a Sindhu Saraswati, IVC is a Saraswati. Is that good? And then about 5,000 years ago, 6,000 or 7,000 years ago, somewhere there, Saraswati vanished. 4500 BC. No, hold on, let me complete that. So that's river Saraswati. Now, where exactly were people on the bank of that river? We have to go and dig and find out what are the evidences. That's that 75,000 years of evidence, or you can go back to 220,000. Now, I'll tell you something. Is 75,000 years of prediction or 220,000 years of prediction? My co-researcher Rupa Bhati, you might have heard if you have listened to my talks. We made these predictions before the James Blinkhorn paper in 2020. In fact, I'll tell you, in January of 2017, I gave a presentation at the International Saraswati Conference in Kurukshetra. Right in front of me in the audience, from the area of geology, there were Padma Shris, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushans. I can tell you the names. They were sitting there. and they were just there nodding their head in the negative. And I was simply predicting that Saraswati of Rigveda is definitely older than 25,000 years, whereas the entire Indic community, research community was thinking it is 7,000 years and after. Why? Because they have dug some places, the Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, and they are thinking like this. Now, the predictions I made in January of 2017, since then about 50 research papers are written on the Northwest India rivers. Every single prediction matches with what I predicted in January of 2017. And the prediction is there on the YouTube, so you can check that. Now come to the Aryan invasion theory. Guys, please help me. Listen to this, and anytime somebody asks you about Aryan invasion theory, do not send that person to me. Please answer it yourself. Listen carefully for the next 2 minutes. What is Aryan invasion theory? Remember I showed you the triangular framework and then the theory and a background knowledge. The 3 corner points of the triangle or the theory or the background knowledge, Aryan invasion theory cannot provide answers to any of these 5 points. It is not Aryan invasion theory, it is Aryan invasion nonsense. Okay? Clapping is easy. Okay, now defending is a different story altogether. What is the Aryan invasion theory? And again, I'm not going to put her on the spot, I'm going to tell this theory. If you ask those people who keep on shouting Aryan invasion theory, they will not able to tell you what exactly it is. There is a reason why they don't want to tell you. As soon as they open the mouth and tell, the theory vanishes. This is the 4 things. If you want to understand Aryan invasion theory, you have to say who, where, when, what. Can you follow after me? Who, where, when, what. The Aryan invasion theory says there were some folks known called Aryan, that's who. They came from outside India to India, where? They came from outside India, they don't care where from outside India. As long as they're from outside India, they're happy. That's the kind of nonsensical agenda it is, okay? Outside India to India, sometime after 2000 BC, that is when? And what? What is the big deal? Yeah, we go back. What's the big deal if people go back and forth? The biggest thing they want to claim as a what is said those Aryans somewhere outside India came to India after 2000 BC, with them brought either the precursor to Sanskrit or Sanskrit itself. Follow? Now if you are paying attention here, 2000 BC guys, Mahabharata in Sanskrit, those are the evidence we can validate, taking us to 7,500 years ago, Ramayana taking to 14,000 years ago, Rigveda more than 21,000 years ago. If you understand my work, Aryan invasion, you say Aryan what? It's just not there. But we don't understand it, and we repeat this more than the outsiders do. Of course, it's in the textbook still, so I understand the real problem you have. But that's the thing. There is an out of India migration. That's not to say there were no people coming in. I mean, the Huns came, Shaka came, okay, Mughals came. I mean, in the recent times, and in the ancient times, people would have come. But that is not to be confused with the Sanskrit. There is no evidence of Sanskrit outside India anywhere. Even by linguistic standards, it's not there. There is an Intel company here, right? As we are driving here. Like see, for example, all the Indo-European languages, they use the word Indo-European, and they say Indo-European languages came from Proto-Indo-European. Have you heard PIE? P-I-E, PIE, Proto-Indo-European. Do you know something? Why do they need Indo? Why not just for fun use Proto-Chinese European? Do you know why? Also, those languages are related. No. If you take away Panini, the Europeans did not know how to connect their own languages with each other. Panini's grammar or Sanskrit grammar is the Intel chip inside this European nonsense. Okay? But learn it. I'm not just sitting here with no European in the room and saying European nonsense. It's not about individual people, it's about the mentality. I'll tell you, that stupid mentality exists more in India and not in Europe. When I give lectures in India or even here, people say, how do you convince the Western audience? I say, I don't have any problem whatsoever in convincing Western audience, because I talk scientific stuff, they think science is there, we think science is there, so therefore we should not use it. We forget Patanjali, we forget Sage Gautam, we forget Sankhya Kapila, we forget Kanar, we just give it away to them. That's our problem. So that's not a problem. Really, it's the Indians. I mean, I don't mean you or me. It is the folks in India who are keeping it alive today. This is very simple to answer with this 4. Who, where, when, what. Thank you.
Dimple.
Last question.
I have one question.
Okay. Second last question.
Thank you, Dinesh, for coming and sharing your research here. This is a very interesting topic. My question will be easier. The first one, during your research, did you find answer for Ashwatthama's living still today? Because I grew up in Gujarat.
Did you meet him?
No, but I would like to. I read so many stories growing up that people who go around Narmada Pradakshina, they see him and people share their stories. So it's like if you have done research.
Okay. People, see, if you go to Facebook, how many of you have gone to my Facebook page? Yeah? Right at the beginning, there is a pin post, you know, okay? And one of the suggestions I give there is that everyone should read Bhagavad Gita every day, okay? Because that gets rid of much of the mental problems, intellectual problems, and even physical problems, okay? Now, Ashwatthama will answer that. Ashwatthama, see, if you believe something, you start seeing something. How many of you have seen ghosts? Ghosts, no? But how many of you believe in ghosts? Be honest. Okay? Otherwise, I'll send you on a Amavasya day to the Smashana Bhumi or something. Right? See, this is the challenge we have. Ashwatthama is considered one of the Chiranjeevi. Many of you would know this is just a sample example. That's not to say only 7 Chiranjeevi. But you would have heard Ashwatthama, Badirvyaso, Hanumansha, Vibhishana, Krupa, Parshuramashya, Saptate, Chiranjeevina. So once the person is considered Chiranjeevi, if we literally take it to mean the person is always there, that is our mistake. So for example, when the elders give Ashirvad, Chiranjeevi Bhava, what are they saying? Have a long life. Okay? Chira, long, achira, very short in that sense. But once we literally take a wrong meaning, that the person is a Chiranjeevi in a sense there, then you know, we see some tree blowing at night and when you say, I think that's 8 feet, yeah, that must be Ashwatthama because you're just coming back from watching the Kalki movie. Right? So that's what happens. The reason, I mean, I don't know the answer, this is not my area, it's like that beyond my scope. But what I've heard from some of the acharyas, so I'll just share the answer with you. What does the Chiranjeevi means? Multiple answers, multiple acharyas give multiple interpretations to the best of their understanding. That's what we should continue. Why we continue? Sanatana. Sanatana, you know, Yaskacharya, the Nirukta, he gives a definition. Sanatano Nitya Nutana. Sanatana is that it's not stuck in some specific time. We are willing to explore, we are willing to come up and refresh our understanding with the new knowledge. Sanatano Nitya Nutana. So we can do that. One of the acharya that I like, therefore I am sharing it. The interpretation is such that these people, if you notice this, Ashwatthama, Badirvyaso, Hanumansha, Vibhishana, Krupa, Parshurama, you will find we don't know, our history, Puranas don't know how they died or how they passed away. Okay? And I don't know if it's an India-wide tradition, but just to give you a metaphor, a similar comparison, I will say in Maharashtra at least I know. How many from Maharashtra? A majority. Why was I speaking in English? Yeah. Good number of them, not majority, good number of them. In Maharashtra, and again young crowd, so I don't know if you remember this tradition, but I know it, I have heard it very well and I have seen it. Suppose a couple is living somewhere and a husband goes to travel wherever for business or somewhere there. And so happens that we don't have a news of that person coming back. We just don't know what happened to that person. Okay, and there was a tradition, or there is a tradition, I don't know how it is, that that lady, a couple, husband and wife, and the husband goes for a business and then suddenly disappears, let's say. We don't know exactly what happened, don't know about his whereabouts. Until some positive or negative news come about that person, the lady is to be considered Saubhagyavati for rest of her life. Maharashtrian folks, have you heard that? Okay. So that's something like this. So we say why? Because we don't know about that person. Something we don't know how these people passed away, and therefore, according to one acharya interpretation, they are considered Chiranjeevi. So if you happen to see Ashwatthama tonight, take my word, it's not Ashwatthama.
Thank you. I have one simple question maybe.
I have a counter to what
Kanchan was asking. So Sapta Sindhu is where the civilization prospered, right? The Vedas were written Sapta Sindhu between Sindhu and Saraswati.
Yes and no, but go on.
That's what a lot of that is that true? And if it's not true, and if it is even true that area between Saraswati kept moving, Sindhu also kept moving from Afghanistan to, so it was a small belt. Were there really 7 rivers, and did everybody move outside from that area into the present India?
Okay. So the 7 rivers, 7 islands, do you know why you see that? You know the magic of the 7 numbers. Our phone numbers used to be 7 digits. Because it's easy to remember, okay? After that it becomes taxing for the brain. So they were explaining world geography as 7 islands, they were explaining certain areas 7 rivers, but the reality is you can find 7 rivers anywhere. Do you agree? You can pick one river anywhere in America, like Mississippi, go back, you can find 7 rivers. You'll find more, but you can decide what 7. It is just a way of sort of helping us grasp the information. 7 continents and things like that. So don't read too much into it. This is way of making information simplified for us. And what was the other part? Sorry?
Between Sindhu and Saraswati.
There are 19 rivers. Okay, homework guys. Rigveda, Nadi Sukta 10.75, Mandal 10, Sukta number 75. You are going to get a list of 19 rivers, starting with the Gangesh, Yamunesh, all the way to Afghanistan.
Was the migration from that area, or were there people already living on all over India?
When?
After the Vedas were written.
Okay, now that's a problem. So we see what problem in the sense we have 4 Vedas right now. In one of the Upanishad, I think, or Aranya, there is a Katha. Have you heard that? Ananta Vai Vedaha. How many of you have heard that? One time, I'll make without taking the details name. One time, one person, he's asked, one Rishi is asked, if you get next birth, what will you do? So he has already taken one birth and studied Rigveda, next birth, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda, etc. This is a moral story. Okay? And then next time he's asked, like, what will you do next time if you give birth? He says, I will study more Vedas, more about the Vedas. And then the person who says that, he says, what will you study? He lifts like 4 stones from the ground. And he says, these are the 4 Vedas that you are studying or you want to study. Now, do you see those 2 big mountains there? They are all Vedas. All you have studied is 4 stones. And there the word says, Ananta Vai Vedaha. Okay, which is to say we have been given as a text, like a physics book. You read one physics book. Does that mean you understood everything in physics? No. It's a limited book. Veda is what? Krishna says, the Veda is not stuck in certain book. Of course, we try to compile it together. But 15th chapter, Urdhva Shakam Ashwattam Pravravyam. What is the next line? Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavid. The person who understands the knowledge is into this Vishwa Vruksha. It's in branches and it's in leaves. That person understands the Vedas. The knowledge is everywhere to be seen, not limited to the 4 Vedas. That is the point we have made. So there is no specific time for Veda. We have evidence in Mahabharata that Vasudeva recasted, re-edited Vedas. And you can see the evidence of that in this Nadi Sukta 10.75. That tells you Saraswati is no longer the grand river, now Sindhu is the grand river. By the time of Mahabharata, now bring the knowledge together. Now do you know why Sindhu is the grand river and not Saraswati by the time of Mahabharata? I gave you the evidence today. Yamuna has gone to Ganga and Satluj has gone to Sindhu. And Satluj is one of the biggest river. Now Sindhu is the biggest river. This is how accurate, precise the data is if you know Vijnana Buddhi, scientific acumen, Tantra Yukti, Tarka Shastra. You are patient, you are hardworking, tenacity, slowly connect the dots. Don't be in a hurry. Thank you.
Yeah, so last question. So we have learned today, like, there are so many scientific evidences in different forms, like right from stars all the way to the ground. But Ramayana and Mahabharata both have so many superhuman-like stories, like normal human cannot even think of those things, right? Like having Sanjay, that Durudrushti, or Hanuman lifting the entire mountain. So are there any scientific evidences that those people had really superhuman powers, or these are like metaphors?
Okay. As I said, most of the problem comes because we don't study them, we don't read them. That's the problem. Now, even if you study and read them, still some mysteries would remain. I said that at the beginning when the 10th head Ravana question was asked. But just the two things that he mentioned, let's take them. Now, have you heard this? When you read a sentence, there are many ways to understand it, like a Shabdartha, Lakshartha, Vachyartha, reading between the lines and so on. So let's take the two. What you said, one is Hanuman bringing...
Sanjay having Durdushi to watch the war.
Okay, let's do Hanuman first, okay? So what does it say? Hanuman brought the whole mountain, okay? Now of course, in reality, he might have brought the whole mountain, like you know, the Boeing 747 cargo plane, taking the whole power plant, something like this. I don't know, I'm just saying it happens today. It could be possible 14,000 years ago. Everyone with me? Okay, possible. I'm not saying that's how it happened. But another possibility is, as a metaphorical speaking or way of speaking, we say somebody, usually that happens, you know, wife sends a husband to the market, bring some vegetables. Husband doesn't know how to bring vegetables, how many to bring, what different kind to bring. So he says, okay, 1 kilo eggplant, 1 kilo this, 1 kilo this, 1 kilo this, and he comes home. And wife says, you brought the whole Monday home, the whole market home. That's a figure of speech. Literally doesn't mean he brought the whole market. Maybe Hanuman, remember if you read the story, Hanuman did not know which one is a Sanjeevani or whatever that. So he said, whatever is shining, let me just take the samples and go. So it's like maybe he brought this home. I'm just making this up here. My understanding, or maybe that's the example. Let's take the first one. What was that? Sanjay, watch Sanjay sitting in front of a TV and telling Dhritarashtra. This kind of, you didn't say it, I mean you said what every one of us think that happened. This kind of nonsense comes into picture because people even who tell you this do not read Mahabharata. Doesn't matter who that person is, guys. Next time challenge them. But before you challenge them, you have to read Mahabharata yourself. Do you know what Mahabharata says? Vyasa gave Sanjay a blessing that he will able to watch, see what is happening in the war without having a fatigue, without having a hunger, without having a thirst, or without getting injured. That is Vyasa's blessing. Go read that. Then do you know something? I'm going to give, this is last question. I'm going to take a couple of points. Vyasa is not sitting just in front of Dhritarashtra and in the room in front of TV and telling the blind guy what is happening and making up. No. Do you know what happens? The very first time, the Bhagavad Gita, like what is the start? Dhritarashtra Uvacha, Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yudsava. Do you know when Sanjay is telling this to Dhritarashtra? Anyone? As Krishna is telling to Arjuna? No. 10 days have gone by of the first war. Bhishma falls down on the battle. And Sanjaya, who is on the battlefield, starts running like the marathon race. Starts running from Kurukshetra to wherever Dhritarashtra is, maybe let's call it Hastinapur or close to Hastinapur, somewhere in there. And he comes running saying, Bhishma fell down, Bhishma fell down, Bhishma fell down. Are you with me? This is the 10th day of the war, after 10th day of the war. He is running, so some time has gone by. And Dhritarashtra says, tell me what happened, tell me what happened. This is Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yudsava, Mamaka, Pandava, Sheva, Kimakurvata, Sanjaya. So he's coming shouting, Bhishma fell, Bhishma fell. He starts with the original thing, saying, hey, this is what the started, the both warriors were there, then Arjuna dropped his bow, then Krishna told Bhagavad Gita, and then the whole thing happens. That is the reason, although the Mahabharata war began on a Kartik Amavasya, that is the end of month of Kartik, we celebrate Gita Jayanti on what day? No, we don't. December 20. Which is what? In the lunar month, what is the lunar month? Margashirsha Shukla Ekadashi. Do you know why? Kartik Amavasya is when the war began. 9 days have gone by. Margashirsha Shukla Navami, Bhishma fell down. Now Sanjay starts running and walking towards Hastinapur. I don't know exactly how much time. He comes there. Finally he starts telling what is happening from the first day of the war. By the time Sanjay tells Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's message to Arjuna, it is the day of Ekadashi. Because that's how it is coming to us through Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva wrote 18 years after the Mahabharata war. Read Mahabharata. Everything is there in the Mahabharata. But it took 3 years for Vyasadeva to write Mahabharata. He wrote approximately 18 years after the Mahabharata war. Okay? That's what it is. Sanjay goes multiple times to the battlefield and comes back. And he's telling this. That is there in my book, but is there in my book because it is there in the Mahabharata text. So that just removes the mystery of Sanjay sitting in front of television, 1922 or after. Thank you.
My point basically was like, when I want to defend this Ramayana Mahabharata in front of Western audience, and when they bring up this kind of superhuman references, I should be able to defend. That's
No, why defend? You said this is how it is, just like your virgin birth. Right?
Yeah.
It's not even a tit for tat. That's how it is. And it doesn't mean like that's what it happened. You said that's how it is written. You follow the difference? There is a difference between Shabda Pramanya and Pratyaksha Pramanya. Shabda Pramanya needs the pariksha. Pariksha to figure it out for yourself how that might have happened. You follow? If it's a Shabda Pramanya blindly to be taken, what is the difference between we guys and the Abrahamic religions? Occasionally we may take Shabda Pramanya as a Shabda Pramanya. Right? Somebody wants to know, hey, what did you study? Somebody asked me. I said, I studied chemical engineering. This is not worth arguing unless you are hiring me. Right? We can say, okay, oh, you did chemical engineering, where? But sometimes very important thing, then we have to put our efforts. Shabda Pramanya, there is a pariksha and then it should turn into a Pratyaksha Pramanya. Do you know why? Actually, there are statements in Mahabharata like that. You should not take Shabda Pramanya blindly if there is a samshaya, doubt about it. You should not take it blindly. It leads to disaster. You should investigate. Do you know what Krishna says in Anugita? Look at Krishna, what he says. Krishna said Bhagavad Gita. Everyone knows that. Then the whole war happened. Then the Ashwamedh Yajna happened. Now Krishna is ready to go to Dwarka and Arjuna is sad. Just like the kids do that, right? Mom, don't go, kind of thing. Or I don't feel like going today back to university, if that happens, right? So Arjuna is saying, please, hey, during that time you told me Bhagavad Gita, but my attention was not there. Can you please repeat Bhagavad Gita to me? And what Krishna says is very, very important. Krishna says that time I was yoga ruda. In the modern language, I was in my zone. I was in the zone. What I told you that time, I cannot tell you now. No, Vyasadeva captures it. That is the beauty of a Vyasadeva. Because of the Vyasadeva, we have it today. But Krishna says, since you asked, I will tell you whatever comes to my mind right now. Do you know what is the name of that Gita? It's known as the Anugita. It comes in Ashwamedha Parva or Parva after that. And one of the, he says a lot of things there. One of the statement, important statement he says, Tapo balam hi kevalam, Tapo balam hi sadhanam. Vyasadeva says the same thing. He says, if all the knowledge that we have today means 7,500 years ago, is all because of Sankhya, the analysis. Sankhya is analysis, Sankhya Darshan. Krishna says, Tapo balam hi kevalam. Just sitting idly on our laurels lazily, we will not able to decipher what is given in our thing. Tapo balam hi kevalam, tapo balam hi sadhanam. This is all possible only due to research. That's what Bhagavad Krishna is saying. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So, I'd like to just take 1 minute more of your time and do vote of thanks, because a lot of people have helped to make this program happen. First of all, a grand round of applause for Nileshji. We have seen his knowledge, his energy. He can go for another 12 hours. He has so much things to tell, so really thank you for coming here. And without any expectation, he agreed to do this program. So really thankful for that. Then I would like to thank Mrs. Smita Karade and Madhav Karade. If you guys can stand up for a second. They are from Bay Area. Art lovers, Indian culture lovers, they came to us with this proposal and they made it happen. So thank you to them. Then Viraj Raut and Kaustubh Upadhyay for driving Nileshji from Bay Area today. Then Nisha Pandeyji for giving a very nice introduction of Nileshji at the beginning of the program. Chinmaya Mission and Balaji Uncle for providing this facility and the sound system and projector. Parag Kate, Ratna Kate and their entire family for their support in getting this venue, filling out the paperwork and all that. Sandesh Malpure, Shrikant Joshi, Sandeep Bide and many others who helped with setup of the chairs and putting the banners and all that. Priya Joshi also, and then Ameya Sate for excellent coffee. And some other kids also helped. for setup. So thankful to all of them. And finally, thank you to all of you for coming up for this event, and really appreciate your time and interest in this topic. Thank you. Volunteers, if you can stay back for setup. Oh, Mudula.